Welcome aboard, everybody, to another episode of OG55. We got the one and only Mr. Drew, the Disney dude, back in the house, and George, the Italiano, back in California. We're going to talk, we have a ton to discuss today. We got a lot of Florida stuff with Piston Peak, the Muppets, all that good stuff. We also have a lot of Disneyland resort news we're going to dive into.
Wait, I'm sorry. You did what in your peak?
Yeah, exactly. Up next on OG50. Oh. Welcome aboard, everybody, to another episode of OG55. We got Drew, the Disney dude, back in the house. We have a lot to discuss today. A lot happening in Orlando, a lot happening here in California. Drew, welcome back, sir. It's always good to have you, man.
It's been too long, but like I always say, I feel like I always talk to you guys and do these like movie length discussions whenever there's a ton of shit to talk about. So here we are. We've got news for both coasts and just the world of theme parks as they continue to evolve. So let's do it.
Absolutely. Drew, where can everybody find you on social media, sir?
Yeah, I feel like I've been posting everywhere lately. Like I even want to start posting on Facebook now. So you can pretty much find me anywhere under Drew the Disney Dude. But like my main thing is Twitter and then Instagram and YouTube, but I'll be everywhere. I posted like 2 videos on TikTok and now they're getting views again. So I'm like, I should probably post everywhere. So why not?
Absolutely. And I'll be linking his socials down below in the description. The Italiano is back in California after being in Florida for a couple of weeks. How you doing, George?
Doing good. Yeah, just literally jumping from coast to coast. Just literally got back in a few hours ago and ready to have our 5-hour discussion. Got to want Cameron. So it's like
I'm shooting for 2 endgame length discussion, a 2 end game length discussion today. We have so much going on, so it's going to be a beefy one for sure. Where can everybody find you, George?
Absolutely. Well, you could find me right here on Orange Grove 55 with Citrus Corner with all that sweet, juicy, but sometimes sticky Disney news and info. And you could also find me on my own YouTube channel, Citrico Central, sister channel to Orange Grove 55, where we dive deep into the vlogging aspect of the parks and what have you. And you could also find me on Instagram, 2 Instagram accounts actually, under the Disney Italiano and Citrico Central.
There he is. All right, let's dive right in. Drew, we have a lot to discuss. A lot has happened since the last time we've had you on the show, brother. A lot.
Yeah, I'm sorry. My mom's like talking to me. And I'm like, I'm talking to the legends, Larry. Like, Josh, you guys. Yeah, there's been so much happening in like the world of theme park news. It's funny because like, I don't know. I've grown up with these parks, and like I think I was around 10, 11 when I really started to kind of realize that this was what I was interested in. Like I've always been fascinated by like construction, and you know, my parents took me to Disneyland when I was a baby. My first ride was It's a Small World. Like it's always been a part of my life. But like even like in the bigger picture, like I'm only 22 right now, and what we're seeing with these parks is like transformational. Like this is historic. You have Universal, who has upped their game to the point that they're matching Disney on a lot of things. And then you have Disney spending $30 billion in their experiences segment over the next decade. And it's like, at what point does this slow down? It almost feels like this might be a hot take. I feel like there's almost too much happening in the theme park world right now because of social media, where everyone's always focused on what's next rather than appreciating what we have. Like if you look at Universal and their 3 parks now, I guess 4 if you count Volcano Bay, you know, I could say Disney is 6 if you want to go that route. But like, I don't know. I just feel like there's so much happening. Like Universal's parks are a blast and they're doing so much. And then I'm at Disney and like Muppets just closed, which we'll be talking about today. There's just so much happening that it's almost like I feel like we need to slow down a little bit. But we'll talk about that today.
That really is true, because like we're all anticipating like the Monsters Inc. door coaster and what have you, and Tropical Americas. And then once it's all said and done, everything that we were anticipating, it's like in the moment, they're like, okay, that's great. But now what? What's next?
Yeah, like Epic Universe just opened, and I really haven't seen anyone talking about it now. Like there was so many previews, and that first media day back in like April 5th, I think it was. Like Epic Universe had its run, like it ran its course before it even officially opened.
Yeah,
and like that's when I was talking to I forgot who it was, but never mind. I don't know if you guys have seen the Universal's like official podcast. Cassie, she's like the main host on there. And I said hi to her in Muppets Courtyard the other night. And I'm like, you do a fantastic job, covering this officially, because like you have to say what's in a company's like language, right? Because it's official. It's an official podcast. And I was just like, I think people need to slow down a little bit, because she was asking me like, have you been on everything yet? And I'm like, I haven't been on Harry Potter yet, the Battle at the Ministry, and I haven't seen Laser Garganu, the little show in Harry Potter. And I'm like, I'm okay with that, because that still gives me two major things to look forward to when I go back, rather than going on like 15 new experiences in one day and being like, oh, I just witnessed an entire theme park that took 6 years to be built in one day. Whoa, I don't like that. So it's
No, you make a great point, Drew, where it's like we've had, like you said, we had years and years of buildup for this thing, for Epic Universe, right?
Yeah.
And I felt like before even opening day, which was I think May 22nd, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's so many dates now. I don't even remember what the dates are anymore.
Oh, see, I remember the date because I was so proud. I was like, I'm going opening day, May 22nd. And like with all the team member previews and the annual pass and the soft opening, I became one of the last people to see it.
Well, and that's the thing. And here's the thing too, where a lot of people have talked about, like, this is the first park built in the social media age, right? Well, in the social media age, man, things move fast. And so back in the day, when you opened a park like Animal Kingdom, back in, what was that, 98? Animal Kingdom?
Yeah, it's Animal Kingdom just celebrated its 27th. So yeah.
Okay, so back then it was more like, it was more of that slow burn. We didn't really have a whole lot of social media back then, even IOA and Universal. But now with social media, things are so fast that that Epic Universe opens and it's already like old news.
Yeah,
it's wild
sad.
to me.
Everyone's like, Zelda, Pokemon. I'm like, guys, you just got a breathtaking recreation of Paris, a top tier How to Train Your Dragon land. Like, absolutely ridiculous how good that land is. You can literally step into freaking Super Mario World, and you have the first ever classic Monsters land, and you're already worrying about Zelda and all this shit. No, slow down, enjoy it.
Exactly.
People put everything they had into making this a reality, and you're going to move on? I'm sorry. And like, I know that might sound hypocritical, because like what I do with my social media is I cover the news, and like I love focusing on what's coming, because I just like following these things from when it's the genesis of an idea to when it's actually reality. So like, I can understand why people would be like, oh, well, you do this, but like, I think that's the difference between what people think I am based on my social media like persona, if that makes sense, versus what my actual thoughts are as a fan first, right? But yeah, it's just, I could talk about that for like an hour. It fascinates me with how fast the news cycle moves, and how I feel like people don't appreciate what we have anymore. And then like Muppets, it's gone just like that overnight.
Well, if you want to talk about it, you could take up a whole hour. We still have 4 remaining.
Hey, James Cameron, I'm going to tell him.
Let's do it. Yeah, no, you're absolutely right, though, about that, Drew. I was actually kind of thinking about that the other day, too. It's like, it's crazy, because all we heard about for years and years and years was Epic Universe. And it looks like a dope park. Like, it looks really, really good, you know? But then it just felt like no one, it's like, okay, I guess we're done with that. Like, what? What do you mean we're done with it, Yeah. It's wild to me. It's wild to me.
It's almost like of how, like, it was mentioned, like in the social media platform, like in today's generation, you can't get a child to sit down and watch a movie from beginning to end. It's like they have to watch reels, and they have to watch like short clips and stuff like that. It's like it has to be like on the go right now. Okay, give me it. Let me finish it. Okay, let's move on. It's like you don't have time to let it just sulk in and enjoy the moment.
Yeah, no, 100%. Well, I mean, let's dive into some Disney stuff, because we got a lot to discuss here. We got Magic Kingdom with Piston Peak. We got some news about Piston Peak, the new Cars Land coming to the roofs of America. Mr. Disney dude, what are your thoughts, brother? What do you think about this? You like the new artwork, the new direction?
I do, because it's I mean, not everyone's gonna know this, but like Tom Sawyer Island, whenever you walk on that island and you first branch off to the left, there's like a little dock right outside of Big Thunder Mountain. That's been my favorite spot at Magic Kingdom since August of 2023. Like I'll just go back there and just chill. And you used to go there to watch the Big Thunder Mountain trains, because you can literally see them whiz right by the water, and you have the Liberty Bell, and it's just like, it was, in my opinion, the most hidden gem on all of Walt Disney World property. Like, it's that magical. We kind of lost that since Big Thunder Mountain went down, and then by the time it reopens, it's going to be a giant dirt pile. So I try to appreciate it while it lasts. And like, I have evidence of that on my Twitter. I'm not just saying I love it. Like, I genuinely love it. That's also something I don't like, is when people are like, oh, this is my favorite thing, and it's just for like engagement, to like fit in the moment of like what's popular. Whereas like it's not genuine. Like when it comes to like Dinosaur closing, next year, probably mid-January. And then when you have like the Riverboat, like I'm genuinely sad about those things.
Yeah.
But to answer your question, like, we talked about this before, like last August when this project was first announced, and I said that I thought this Cards and Villains thing was going to be the worst change in the history of Disney parks, because I was like so pissed off in the moment. But I think like taking some self-reflection on that and like seeing kind of how they've addressed feedback, at least supposedly they've addressed feedback. Like there was a whole little media presentation they did, and everyone I've talked to has said that the Imagineers on that call kind of made it clear that they've heard people loud and clear they want water and the kinetic energy and kind of like that atmosphere with this new area. And I'm assuming that the things that they showed them at that presentation are going to be revealed at D23. Because like if it's ready now, you just have to throw it up on a screen in August. Like it's not that, there's no effort there. So I hope we see that in August. But I think that this whole Piston Peak thing, it's going to be fine. Like, sure, I'm sad about it. But like even last night, after I watched Muppets for the last time, I took a bus back to Polynesian just to walk around for a little bit. There was like 5 people in the entire bus, and the 2 parties to my right were talking about how they're excited for Monsters Inc. Land because they didn't care about the Muppets. Like the general family and the general guest, Cars is one of Disney's most profitable franchises. Villains, it's Villains. Like the diehards have even been asking for this. If it were my choice, I would keep the Riverboat in some capacity. But Josh D'Amaro isn't running a business based on my personal preference. He's running a business on making billions of dollars. So I just hope that the team gets a proper budget. That's like all I care about at this point, because some of the Imagineers working on this project they've worked on like incredible things, like Camp Woodchuck over in Tokyo. It's like an indoor seating area just for a restaurant, like character meet and greet space, if I remember correctly. Everyone I know who's been to Tokyo that's been to Camp Woodchuck has said that it's like shocking how good the theming is just for a little space. It's not even an attraction. And that team is working on this. So you mix like your legacy Imagineers that are still with the company with the new talent. And I think that you have a recipe for success. Also, just the fact that you have all these new walkways, like they showed them a render of a walkway connecting Haunted Mansion to Big Thunder. Like that's an objective win. Being able to walk from Big Thunder out to Haunted Mansion in 2 minutes. Hell yeah, sign me up. So this project is undoubtedly a massive win for Magic Kingdom, objectively speaking, for the general family, for Disney's bottom line, for capacity, Cars, Villains, it's fine. I just think it's the fact that when emotions attached to it, when I was documenting Tiana's, I've talked about this before, but when the logs were in testing, I would turn around and I have this beautiful boat behind me, and losing that, it's just something that I hold close. But it is what it is. I'll be there on that last day. I'll enjoy it, and then I'll be watching rockwork formations form in a couple of years. So
100%, 100%, Drew. That's the best way to look at it. And really, like, I feel like Disney's a huge corporation, and like you were saying, they have to really cater to the general masses, right? So they got to cater to the soccer moms with the 4 kids, right? So they're doing that with the Cars thing. But I also appreciate how they're kind of sprinkling in some goodies for the nerds like us, right? Like the teetering boulders. That's an homage, right, to Nature's Wonderland, and we got like the rainbow little geysers over there by Big Thunder, which is kind of cool, kind of classic feel, kind of classic Disney. So they do these little things for like the diehard nerds to like let us know, like, hey, we appreciate you. But at the end of the day, the bulk of these
decisions, look at it. But yeah, no, I 100% agree. It really does look nice.
It looks great, yeah, and they're trying to weave that like compromise in there, like where it's like the normies, we're going to give. We got to make money with, but at the same time, we didn't forget you nerds. We got you. We got these teetering boulders. We're going to try to make this work. And there's a lot of water features. I mean, a huge river and everything with this new art that we got. Yeah, exactly. Beautiful. Absolutely gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous.
Also incorporating the park ranger from the Humphrey the Bear cartoons into a car vehicle. Like that was just genius. Now, again, a normie's not going to know that. They're not going to understand that, but us diehard Disney fans will. So I love how they incorporate. You have the car franchise, which is basically for everyone, especially for families and for the young kids and what have you. But then, as you guys were mentioning, they throw in these little kind of Easter eggs as Disney does, for us diehard Disney fans, that we would understand it and we would appreciate it. But I will say that with this piece of concept art, I do love how the aesthetics of this Cars area, of how it fits well with Tiana's and Big Thunder. It like weaves in so perfectly. It's almost seamless.
Well, yeah, because they're definitely going in a different direction with Frontierland. I think the official like new theme direction is basically like the American wilderness, which I like that, right? And it does make Tiana's and all the surrounding areas make more sense. What do you think about that, Drew, in terms of like the overall kind of theme, kind of the new angle they're taking with the overall land now?
Yeah, it's funny because like I think the language that the people on the media call were told officially is that like if you look at Disneyland's Frontierland or even Thunder Mesa, I think it's called over in Disneyland Paris, how it's specifically set in a certain like time point. Where supposedly with Walt Disney Worlds, that's not their goal. I don't mind it personally. I feel like everyone sometimes is a little too caught up on like the thematic integrity where it has to be like perfect or you can't enjoy it, right? But for me personally, I look at it as Magic Kingdom is the most visited theme park in the world. So the more stories that you can tell in this one location, the more places you can go to in a 100-acre theme park, the better, as long as it's done well. Like the fact that the first thing that you're going to see is this waterfall, like the staging I'm already thinking about like in my head is how is this going to look from the hub of Magic Kingdom? Because whenever you're first walking into Liberty Square if you like pass the partner statue and you walk straight in, you can see the Liberty Bell and like that loading dock from the center of the park. So like this waterfall that they've kind of shifted over from the original art, that's almost acting as like the weenie as Splash Mountain acted before with Chickapin Hill in the back, but now it's kind of been moved up to the front of the area. So like that waterfall is going to be gorgeous. My main hope is that they're going to keep the Liberty Bell like dock like building. Right now you can see it in the bottom left. I hope that they name that the Liberty Overlook. It's like a nod to the Liberty Bell, where you can look over at the entire area, and then name that Liberty Falls. It's Liberty Falls, Liberty Overlook. I think that would be a beautiful nod. But yeah, I think it was Peter at Ordinary Adventures who first mentioned it. But even if you look at like Tiana and how the waterfall connects, like right now you have like that little bridge at Tiana, the one that I stood on for 5 months, and the water is under that right now. But you could literally turn that into like a river. Like you just extend it. You keep the bridge and then you just connect it. So again, it's a cartoon map. Like this is just an artist's interpretation of the final, digital plans they're making right now. But I don't know. I don't see how I'm going to dislike this. And like the fact that they've confirmed that there's like walking trails, like, yeah, Tom Sawyer Island is kind of a giant walking trail. But it doesn't necessarily have those kinetics. Like it doesn't have those geysers or the little mud holes or whatever you want to call them. It doesn't have those kinetics. And like this giant, right above where it says welcome to Piston Peak, I think that's called Old Tank Full. And it's an erupt at certain points throughout the day. So it's like you're taking a giant part of Wilderness Lodge that people love and will go over there for. You're putting it in Magic Kingdom. And like imagine like the little cars racing around that. Like if you think about Radiator Springs Racers, one of the most fun elements is when you're getting off the ride and you can see the cars crossing the finish line and whizzing by you. Imagine if you're just standing right outside of Haunted Mansion. You have all these beautiful trees, all the scenery, and then you're seeing these cars whiz around Old Tankful and it erupts every 30 minutes. Like the general guest is going to be eating that up. This is the guest satisfaction rankings are going to go from like the last in the park to like top in the park, just like Country Bears. There's absolutely no denying it, and that's why I hate these people are like, oh, they're destroying Magic Kingdom. Well, in your eyes, like that's valid if you want to think that. Yeah. If you don't want to go to the parks anymore, cool. You have your opinion. I will respect that. I'll scroll past the post. I'll disagree with you silently. Again, like I said, the soccer moms, the general family that doesn't follow us on social media, that doesn't live in this little echo chamber of news where we know everything 5 seconds within its announcement. Let them just enjoy the parks with the IP. Yeah. Just let people have fun.
Yeah, no, 100%. And you bring up a great point because there is that normie fan divide there, right? Like we kind of get in this bubble where it's like we think that like everybody is concerned about losing the river, and the soccer, like the soccer mom or the normie or the family, they want the Cars thing. Yep. They want the Cars thing. They want the Elsa ride. They want these things, and it's this kind of stuff is going to be hugely popular, and then it helps capacity for the park as well.
Absolutely.
it also separates Magic Kingdom from Disneyland. So, that's one thing too. A lot of fans have complained about over the years for as long as I can remember, which is like the cloning. Well, it's like, okay, cool. Now Magic Kingdom is really going to have its own fingerprint, its own DNA, its own style. That's awesome. That gives people from California a reason to go to Florida now, right?
Yeah.
Well, and actually, I would be one of them. Because I was even considering, because I was an East Coaster, I was a 2-hour flight away from Walt Disney World. So Walt Disney World would always be my playground. Now that I'm over in California, Disneyland is. So every time that I can get the opportunity to go to Walt Disney World, it's a much more opportunity that it's like, okay, it's like a treat for me now. And that's why I'm even considering, like, once Cars is completed, Villains, Monsters Inc., Tropical Americas, I'm thinking of getting my annual pass back for Walt Disney World. Despite me being over here in California, that I think I would be making a lot of frequent trips, just to experience all this stuff. And especially now, having a YouTube channel, I want to be able to, share that and document that. And, so it's a sacrifice. I'll just drop one of my magic keys. So,
yeah, it's my favorite part about what we're seeing with the parks right now is originality. And I know people will say it's all IP. Hear me out. Okay. You guys have already just mentioned it, but like, I think that's kind of where people have to realize what the Imagineers are able to do versus what's mandated, right? If Bob Iger and Josh D'Amaro say we are replacing the Rivers of America, you guys have to figure out a plan that works. And then Bruce Vaughn steps in as the chief creative and president of Imagineering, right? Well, they could have easily just taken parts of Cars Land and DCA and just thrown it into Magic Kingdom, and the general fan would have been thrilled. But they're actually putting the time, money, research, and development into making it original. It's not a Tron clone like we've seen in Shanghai, right? And so, like, I think it comes back to they're addressing feedback where they can, like where they're able to physically do it. You look back to D23 in 2022 and we got that first Blue Sky session, right? That was before Bruce Vaughn had returned. He came back in March of 2023. And then look at how much better that plan got. You went from a melting pot of IPs with Moana and Zootopia, which looked mediocre at best, to a well thought out plan, a region of the world, followed by IPs after you have a core story established, right? So I don't know. I don't understand the mindset of Disney is not doing anything original, because like the Tropical Americas Land, it's an original storyline. Like, it's literally you're going to this village and then you're discovering these stories within this village. So obviously they're going to put IPs there because they have to. It makes the money. But appreciate where they're doing the original things, right? That's how I view
it. You're on mute, bro.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, there we go. No, yeah, 100%, Drew. With the look, they have to do the IP thing. Universal has Super Mario Brothers. I mean,
Yeah.
and How to Train Your Dragon. I mean, they can't look, as much as the diehard fans would want something crazy like some Western River Expedition thing and get all that amazing Mark Davis artwork brought to life. I mean, we would all love that, eat that up. But like, the family wants something that they can actually they want like more IP stuff. And if we're going to compete with Universal, and Universal is stepping their game up, and how do you compete with Super Mario Brothers with a non-IP? That's very difficult to do. Disney's got to bring the big guns, and Cars is a big gun. I mean, that's $1 billion franchise for them, so why not utilize it? So, it's,
Yep.
It's a tough one, but that brings us to another IP that a national treasure, the Muppets, which had its last day as of the time of this recording last night. Drew, what are your thoughts on this? So they're closing MuppetVision 40 and the Courtyard, make way for Monsters Inc. But the Muppets are just going to be moving. They're not going away completely. They're going to be moving into the Rock and Roller Coaster building. Thoughts on this? It was a very emotional time for fans with this closure.
Yeah, last thing I'll say about this is literally a thought that just popped into my head. But one thing that I don't love that Disney is doing with the whole replacement of Rivers and Tom Sawyer Island is that they're only talking about Cars. So like we've been talking so much about the general family and the general guest, I firmly believe right now that there's thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people out there that think that Cars is taking up that whole 12-acre space. They don't even know Villains Land is coming.
Sure.
But Villains Land is literally right next to Cars. So once Disney starts talking about the whole plan, I think a lot more people are going to be receptive to it. I think that's a 100%. Big mistake they've made, even since when they first announced it. People don't realize it's only 4 acres. Cars is 4 acres, Villains is 8 acres. That's your whole 12-acre area. But to answer your question about Muppets, yeah, it's interesting because like the other night I was sitting in bed and I'm like, man, Muppets closes in 4 days, and now I'm sitting here talking to you guys as Muppets is permanently closed. I know I'm gonna get some shit for this, but when I was watching Muppets for the last night, I didn't feel any emotion. Like, I don't know what it is, but I've always felt more of a connection to the Muppets characters themselves rather than MuppetVision 3D.
Interesting.
I don't know. Like, I thought I was going to be sad watching it, but I almost felt happy and like fulfilled just being there, saying goodbye to something that's been a part of my life for so long. Like, I'm turning 23 in August. The show was 34 years old, so it's been there my entire life. You know, back to like the Streets of America days. You know, with the Osborne lights, I always remember going to see it and then checking out the Christmas lights and then running the Toy Story Mania. Like, that was my order of doing things. So I've always enjoyed the show. Like, I don't dislike it by any means. But I'm not going to come on here and pretend it was my all-time favorite thing. You know, it's just, I enjoyed the humor, but like I never liked Waldo. And then obviously just the fact that some of the CGI is outdated. And also at certain points in the show, like because of the CGI, I could see the characters in like both of the lenses at like Mickey at the end or like the taxi. But like I'll miss it just because I was there so much. Like it was a part of every single visit to Hollywood Studios. But yeah, I didn't feel any sadness last night, which I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. But I did see people crying. So like it obviously, you know, it's very subjective. You know, people did love the show. I do have 3 big problems though with MuppetVision closing. This is where I will be critical, be objective, right? Looking at it through the lens of, I'm kind of defending Muppets fans here, even though I'm not a diehard fan of the show. I have 3 problems with it. They were promoting Disney Plus with the Jim Henson documentary at the entrance of the theater with a poster for months. Well, the show is closing, which is his final project, and we still have no freaking update on what they said last year with all the creative conversations about what's going to happen to MuppetVision, right?
Yep.
Back in November when they first announced it, telling me you're having creative conversations, cool. I appreciate that you mentioned it. Now it's June. I need an update. If you're going to shut the doors to his final project for the last time ever, when you have the most emotional, like energetic closing day in the history of Walt Disney World, I need an update on that. I don't need a video of Kermit the Frog on Twitter in a horrible Kermit voice telling me that they're moving to Rock and Roller Coaster. I'm sorry. That's why I didn't even post about the whole Rockin' thing yesterday morning. I just reposted Walt Disney World's post because I just feel like it's tone deaf, right?
Yeah.
So that's my first problem. Promoting your paid subscription service while you're closing the man's project. I don't feel motivated to go on to Disney Plus and watch this love letter to Jim Henson when you're getting rid of his project. That's just how I feel.
It feels gross, right? I love the idea of having a Jim Henson documentary and all. That's great, but to promote it in this way feels dirty.
It should be on YouTube. It should be on YouTube for free. So that's my first problem. My second problem is that while I am excited for the Muppets going to Rock and Roller Coaster, there are kids out there who would laugh at MuppetVision because it was just a fun show. That was my biggest takeaway from watching the show in the last week. The amount of kids that would literally sit up in their seats, locked into the show, laughing and giggling. I was there the other night, like 3 nights ago. I had a little boy sitting in front of me, and I was just watching him, realizing like he's not going to ever be able to appreciate this because he's not going to remember it. And right behind me, to my left, was a little girl who was laughing the entire time. I was more sad for them that they'll never be able to experience the show when they're older than I was watching it and saying goodbye to it. So putting the Muppets behind a height requirement is also a massive problem I have. Yes, you're going to have the Monsters, Inc. show, but again, that's Monsters, Inc. for the show. You also need a Muppet show to counter that, in my opinion. I think that if you really want to introduce these new generations of kids to the Muppets, there has to be something available for them that they can just walk into and enjoy in the air conditioning and not, a roller coaster with loops and inversions and all that crap, right? Well so that's said. The second one.
And that's a great point, Drew, not to cut you off, but like this coaster is not something that's accessible to everybody. Like you're right, little kids, obviously, definitely not with them, but even like grandma, you can't get grandma on Rock and Roller Coaster. So there's a lot of barriers to entry with this thing. And Muppets are an everybody franchise. So it's like, not everyone's gonna be able to enjoy this. So yeah, that's a fantastic point.
That's why I'm surprised, even though, and we'll get into it in a little bit with the villain show. And I get what Disney was trying to do with it, to try to, get the villains more out there, spread them out, get that anticipation, see how guests react to it, with the upcoming Villains Land and what have you, kind of beta testing things. But you have an entire theater right there that would have been adjacent to Rock and Roller Coaster. Maybe they couldn't put the original Muppet Vision in there, but maybe do something with the Muppets, like of a stage production or what have you. That way you can they could have literally recreated a new updated version of Muppets Courtyard literally right there with Rock and Roller Coaster and the theater that holds now Villains.
Yeah,
That's a good point. That's a good point. That might have been the move.
I don't know why I'm forgetting my third point I was going to make. I'm very tired because I was out all day yesterday. I don't know. I guess kind of just like the fact that it's Disney's own IP. Like, you buy this franchise from the Henson family, right? And then, like, I guess it kind of ties into what I said earlier, but you're closing the man's final project, and we have no idea how it's going to return in the future. I don't know. It just kind of feels tone deaf to me. I know that like the teams that work on these projects that have to kind of share everything, like they don't have the choice in whether it closes or not, and they're put in like these interesting situations of how do you handle it. But the words creative conversations aren't enough for me at this point. You know, I can't walk into Hollywood Studios tomorrow and see the show anymore. So when am I going to be able to watch it again?
Well, yeah, and I hope they come up with something kind of cool. You know, because I mean, you know, look,
Move it to Pittsburgh.
The what?
Move it to Pittsburgh.
There we go. Exactly. You move it to PA. Exactly. But I mean, like, I feel like it needs something really special. Like, I would be actually very disappointed if they just threw this thing on Disney Plus.
Yeah.
Like, it needs to go into some sort of like Jim Henson Museum or even the Walt Disney Family Museum or something where like just a little bit more of an event sort of event treatment where it's like it gets that special sort of like, okay, this is a beloved thing. This is Jim Henson's last work. You can't just throw this on a streamer. You know, go ahead.
And I have a question and also a concern too.
Sure.
My concern also, if they were to put it on Disney Plus or in that format where it's just watchable, I do hope that they include the pre-show, because I feel like the pre-show is a very big significant part of like setting the stage, so to speak, no pun intended, before you actually watch the show. Number two, when they said that they recorded or they're going to record the show as a whole, are they also including the physical parts of the show, like of the special effects with Sweetums, with the penguins, with Bean the Bunny and Statler and Waldorf? Like, are they including all of that?
I'm just impressed you know all the names. That's awesome. Go, George.
Penguins. That is one thing that I really am going to miss with the show is like how well written it was. Like, I can respect how the humor actually landed. You know, like even in like Country Bear Musical Jamboree, how they tried to recreate the whole ladder joke. It's just a horrible recreation of it. So the fact that this show had such iconic writing, where even 34 years later, people are laughing at it every time, that's something I'm going to miss. And I do think that that's one thing is like Monsters, Inc. is my second all-time favorite Pixar franchise. So like subjectively, I'm super excited for this new show. But realistically speaking, is this new Monsters, Inc. show, whatever it may be, going to last for 34 years with the impact of MuppetVision? No freaking way, man. Yeah. Like the door coaster, that's going to be an iconic part of Disney parks worldwide for decades. There's no denying that. But like I genuinely feel bad for the Imagineers that are working on this new Monsters, Inc. show, because the show itself is probably going to be a ton of fun. You know, they're probably going to bring back, Billy Crystal and John Goodman as the characters, because you had Billy Crystal on stage at D23. Like, he's clearly interested. Monsters at Work season 1 and 2, they're both there. But again, it's like it's literally in the same exact theater as MuppetVision. Like, how do you? It's going to feel so wrong walking back into this theater, in 2028 or whenever it is, and people are already like, it's another Splash versus Tiana's, but it's the Muppets, and it's like, how do you even compete? Pizzeria is one thing, the pizza's shit. But like MuppetVision was not shit by any means. MuppetVision was a pretty solid offering. So, I'll be thrilled watching Mike Wazowski cracking jokes up on the screen again, just happy to be back in this theater. But everyone else is going to probably be like, this isn't MuppetVision, which, again, I can get it if you're a diehard Muppets fan. I totally respect that. It's just, I don't know, these decisions where it's like you make these business choices, there's so much back and forth, and I just hate that it's like that, because these parks aren't meant to be like that. They're, it's the whole thing when you're walking into Disneyland Magic Kingdom. Here you leave today and enter the world of yesterday, tomorrow, and fantasy. I try to, just enjoy these things for what they are. But sometimes, reality does set in of what we've had before and the memories attached to it.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how that. You're right. I never really considered that, where like the Monsters Inc. show is going to be now forever compared to Muppets, which is tough because like you're comparing this new show to Jim Henson's last piece of work. How do you even compete? You know what I'm saying? And I mean, maybe Disney doesn't really care. Maybe Disney is like we were saying earlier with the normies, and the normies aren't really going to know that. But it's like, I don't know. That's tough. That's a really good point.
George brought up a great point too. Is like, you almost have to have something physical with this Monsters Inc. show that interacts with the screen, because our eyes have been trained to go left, right, and even behind us with the show for 34 years. Like, the fact that there's a Swedish chef animatronic and the entire audience would flip around and that got greenlit and approved, that would never happen today. But like the movement of that animatronic was phenomenal even 34 years later. That dude's moving more than the critters in Tiana's from the 1990s. It's crazy. But George,
Mike Eisner was a madman. He really was.
Yeah, it's like in like the Penguins, like that one little violin dude during Miss Piggy's segment, like it's so like I can look at it objectively and appreciate it, And I love animatronics. Like, that's my favorite part of the parks. But this is something I haven't talked about yet because I haven't been given the green light to share specifics. But George, you did bring it up. I know for a fact that there was a ton of documentation done internally for MuppetVision, like very detailed documentation on June 4th, 5th, and 6th. I'm trying to get the green light to share it, but there was more documentation done just in addition to that cast member event. And that does give me hope that they're going to do something with it, because like they have all this stuff archived with like the technology to where you could literally recreate it one for one if you wanted to in the future. I have a theory of what it's for though. But again, if I get the green light, I'll definitely post about it. It has to do with a significant investment that Disney's made in recent years, and I'll leave it at that.
Okay, interesting. All right, so now
I want to talk about it. I really would do. I hate to be like that guy where it's like, oh, I know something that you don't. I don't want to be that person. I absolutely despise it. But unfortunately, I have to play by the rules now. So
yeah,
I don't want to get someone fired.
If there's one piece of a physical set piece of the Muppets that I wish that they would put in the archives or something, literally like the piece of carpet with the mat with the key underneath, like they have to keep that.
I'm so glad you brought this up. I had this there. I'm recording a YouTube video about this whole Muppets thing tomorrow, where I'm actually going to talk about how to kind of fix Disney's Muppets problem, because I think that there is a way to satisfy your diehards will also have your average guest satisfaction rating go up, where you have the Muppets in more than just a coaster. But this key, I was like, because I've been trying to think like more creatively lately, because there's so many social media creators these days where I'm like, I have to stand out and I just want to be more creative, like make it a little bit more about myself and kind of show who I am as a person more, rather than just breaking news. But I think it would be very, very fun if, Disney they love having the Muppets in videos, right? Like even a couple of years ago, we saw them going on Spaceship Earth and with Figment, right? With the original voice actors like Dave Goelz, and they were so fun. So what I would do is, because it's now canon that Kermit the Frog has mentioned the old theater in that video that they posted on Twitter, right? Where he says they're moving to Sunset Boulevard. So have that key under the mat unlock the door to Rock and Roller Coaster. Have that be the key that lets them in. I was like, holy shit, I have a good idea for once.
That's amazing, dude. I love that. I freaking love that.
Imagine if they edited it to where you have like Kermit's hand picking up this key, and then you see them walking through the park and like going to the handprints. And the handprints of Jim Henson in front of Mickey and Minnie's, like all on the ground there. Like have them go and like put a rose down, like honoring Jim's legacy, and then walking down, Sunset Boulevard, and then you open the key and it reveals the whole like new pre-show whenever the ride's done. I do think that if Disney wants to say that they truly care about the Muppets and Jim Henson's legacy, which right now it's really hard to say that they care, there are people at this company who absolutely care. I'm not saying it's everyone. It's not that though. It's how does the general public perceive what Disney cares, if that makes sense, right?
Yeah.
Like obviously us three and a lot of people watching this understand that there are a ton of people at the Disney company who care deeply about what they do. They put their heart and soul into everything regarding the Muppets. That is their job, that's their passion, that's their care. But again, if you're talking about the general audience, it's all about perception. It's all about how people perceive the reality of the current situation that's happening. If you want people to think that you care about the Muppets, then you have to put time, money, and effort into them. And I think doing an actual, like Bob Iger recently was talking about doing a Figment series on that whole shareholders meeting.
Yeah.
Do this for the Muppets. Like, I don't care if it's going to make you money or not. Sometimes it's not about the bottom line. Sometimes you have to be a creative company, like you claim you are. Just do something like that. You have it set up right in front of you. Take the key, have it go through the park, have them unlock the doors, and now that's their new home. Just do something fun. Be creative. Make people laugh. That's what I want.
100%.
Do you think that there is more in-depth conversation, even to the fact of how Henson's daughter was there last night? So the fact that she was there, like, makes a bold statement that
I agree.
They are in connection with the Henson family to move forward with all this stuff.
Yeah, I am very sad that I did not see her. Honestly, that's my biggest regret of last night. Is I was with like a group of like 15 friends that I've just gotten to know from being around the parks and social media and all that. And we went in at final call at 10 p.m. But I missed seeing Heather go into at the last guest ever, which I love. That's a very classy move. And the whole Rainbow Connection sing along. I will say, if I was in Muppets Courtyard during that Rainbow Connection sing along, I think that's the thing that would have made me tear up. That would have gotten the emotional reaction out of me. But I missed those two things. I got to see the show, so I'm not going to complain. I'm not going to be ungrateful, because there were people that wanted to be there that weren't there. So I'm grateful I got to see the show. Don't get me wrong. But yeah, you do make a good point. It's kind of like how, Disney's been talking a lot about how they're talking to, Walt Disney's grandchildren about the animatronic, and they're in direct contact with, the family and the Walt Disney Family Museum about the Walt animatronic. Well, to your point, it's kind of a very good sign that Heather is there. But part of me is wondering, was she there because of, the whole WWNT event where they did this whole celebration and invited her out and she was just there to be a part of it, with all the people who appreciate the show? Or is there something more to this that made her willing to go to that WWNT event? But like, I feel like if the family of Jim Henson is still alive, it's not like this is like a great granddaughter where like there's no connection at that point, That's why I think it's so funny when everyone's like, oh, Walt Disney's, I think it's Diane who is speaking out against the Walt animatronic. I'm like, you've never even met the man. Like, sure, your blood is connected to Walt Disney, but like you didn't talk to him, so I really don't care what you say. This is his daughter. Like that's totally different.
Right.
I think that again, you have to involve these people. You have to make an actual statement. You can't say something and then have your actions line up completely differently. Like I'm just, it'd be like if I said I hate Disney and then I'm posting like, oh, I'm a Magic Kingdom. Like, no. I think it would be awesome if she's involved. I think that when you have someone directly related to one of the most creative minds the world has ever seen, if you have that person like as a mentor on the project, kind of like how the Chase family, was the direct inspiration for Tiana. She was like an honorary Imagineer for Tiana's Bayou Adventure. So bring her on for the coaster. I would even, if I was in Disney's position, I would bring her on into those creative conversations and say, hey, what would satisfy you as his daughter? What would make you happy with his final work? And I would even get the community involved. I think that there's a ton of potential for Disney to literally ask the fans what they want. We've never seen Disney literally directly ask the fans what they want. Sure, you have those surveys that go out, and sure, you have like that feedback to guest relations. But I think that they could use their social channels to do that. So I hope that you're right, George. I hope that she is on board.
And with me being a diehard Disney fan, you know what I would want? You know what I would really want? I'll tell you what I would really want is for them to... Now I'm probably going to get some backlash with this because I do love Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway. I do. I do not like the fact of how it replaced the Great Movie Ride. But what I would have been satisfied with, and to also have something of the Muppets, to have a more updated version of what they were originally planning and have the Great Muppet Movie Ride. Yeah. If they were to still have that attraction there, but it's like, okay, we're removing MuppetVision. Okay, so let's kind of go back into the dust off some of the old WDI ideas for the Great Muppet Movie Ride and then replace the original Great Movie Ride. So that way it's not as too much salt into the wound, because you're still having a variation of the Great Movie Ride and you're also keeping the Muppets. And it's also a ride that could be for the whole family.
Yeah,
100%. Yeah, Great Muppet Movie Ride would be perfect because the Muppets have always been kind of meta in a way, right? So to have them sort of reenacting scenes from like various maybe Disney owned properties, Lion King, you can even do like a Pandora Avatar reenactment or something. Like it'd be fantastic.
I'm gonna really date myself. Do you remember the episodes of the Muppet Babies where they reenact Star Wars and Indiana Jones, and they actually showed real life clips in the cartoon of the movie itself? Like you'd never see that, in today's cartoons.
Yeah. Oh, Muppet Babies were amazing, dude. I used to love that show. That was the GOAT. But yeah, there's a lot they can do. Muppets are a great franchise. They really are a beloved treasure, and I think that they need to invest more into them. You know what I'm saying? I do like, though, I will say this. I didn't love World of Color Happiness. That was a kind of a mid show, but that Muppet pre-show was an absolute banger. Mm-hmm. I mean, it reminded me a lot actually of MuppetVision, where it was like, we're getting ready for the big show and
And that's why I hope they keep the pre-show, whatever they do with MuppetVision, because you're right, that the pre-show for World of Color was the best thing of World of Color. They could have ended it right there at the Muppets, and I could have walked away and said, I'm good. That was perfect.
When they brought the little lawyer otter thing out, Legal Smeagol, like that guy, they won me over. This is amazing,
Yeah, and I think that's kind of like a perfect example of there are people out. It's not creative bankruptcy. One of the biggest things that drives me crazy is when all these Twitter boomers with their AI profile pictures and no face, right? It's like the random ass like American flag or something, or it's like AI, or it's not them, right? It's not them because they're hiding behind a keyboard. When they're like, Disney's creatively bankrupt. Like yesterday morning, I posted what's coming to Walt Disney World in 2026, right? We have Big Thunder Mountain reopening. You have Buzz Lightyear getting updated. You have The Mandalorian and Grogu coming to Smuggler's Run, and then you have Rock and Roller Coaster with Muppets. And they're like, so nothing new? I'm like, technically it's nothing new. But if you're telling me an all-new track at Big Thunder Mountain with new effects, massive upgrades to a classic ride of Buzz Lightyear with an all-new character, all-new targets, handheld blasters, essentially a brand new ride with Millennium Falcon with Unreal Engine 5 and this whole partnership with Disney and Epic Games, in a whole reimagining of a roller coaster with the Muppets isn't new, then that's just a perfect example of Disney doing all this stuff is not enough for you. And like, even coming back to what we first started off this call with is how I was saying that people need to slow down. I could be wrong here, but I'm pretty sure I'm right. If you look back at Magic Kingdom's history, I don't think there was anything new between 91 when Splash opened and New Fantasyland in 2011, right? That's like over 20 years without a major new thing, and that's Magic Kingdom. But again, social media didn't exist then, so there wasn't this vocal, I have to speak about everything. And that's why, I don't know, like, if I worked at Disney right now, I would be pushing so hard that, like, you have to do new things to keep the money coming in, especially in this economy where money's tight. There's narratives of what people think is happening in America and what's not, and like international travel, and the parks are being affected by it. But like, you have to balance it to where you're still making the money, but to where you're not just doing things because of these social media reactions. Yeah. And that's why part of me is like just content with what Disney is doing, and I just accept the change now, is because social media isn't reality. Like I said, people aren't living in this echo chamber of what we see every day. It's such a fascinating, time we're living in with, all the real world issues, and then people complaining about theme parks, which should be our escape, right? It should be the happy thing. It is what it is, but part of me hates social media. Just how negative it is.
Yeah, no, 100%, Drew. Yeah, the social media thing has really changed the landscape. You're right. It's like we talked about it, like you said earlier on the show with Epic Universe. I mean, the thing wasn't even open yet, and it was already old news. I mean, it's ridiculous, But
yeah, it's fascinating what's happening with the Muppets. I never thought, when I was sitting in that D23 arena last year, I vividly remember when I posted, the Monsters concept art for the first time, and I was looking at my comments, waiting for the next concept art to pop up, and people are like, is this replacing Muppets? At the time, my mind never even went to the Muppets closing. I thought it was going to Animation Courtyard. And now here we are, Muppets is gone. So life is interesting, right? How fast things can change and how the things that we have are gone in the blink of an eye. But yeah, I do hope that Disney does do more with the Muppets, and that this coaster gets a proper budget and they do something with that whole area. Because if you get rid of Jim Henson's last project and your reimagining of Rock and Roller comes across as cheap and cost effective, yikes, there will be no defending that one.
Oh no, absolutely not. No, absolutely not. Like, change is important with Disney, but you have to provide a quality experience. And, like, yes, change is good, but you don't want to have change for the sake of change. So with the Rivers of America thing, Piston Peak, that thing has to deliver. If you're going to get rid of the Rivers of America, okay, cool. You know what? This is part of the Disney parks DNA, the change. Things evolve, but you have to come in though and give us a quality experience to replace it. Same with Muppet Rock and Roller Coaster, right? It's like, okay, cool, you're replacing it, you're changing it. I respect that, but you have to come in and do right by it. So
yeah, honestly, that's like, George, don't forget your thought. I'll be quick. But like everyone knows I love Tiana's Bayou Adventure. But again, if I'm looking at this objectively, I'm not blind to the fact that a lot of the diehard Disney fans don't like Tiana's. And, Imagineering will come out and preach the fact that they always win their fans over with these reimaginings, and when they change things and plus them, they call it plussing. But I would say a lot of people don't view Tiana's as an upgrade at all, right? They still want Splash. They miss Splash. They're not happy with Tiana, how it turned out. Obviously, I don't have Disney's internal guest satisfaction ratings with Tiana, so I can't speak on that. But again, like if you're going to call it a plussing, I think that you need to have your diehards on board with it and your general audience if you're going to make that change.
Well said. Well said. What say you, Italiano?
I completely agree with all that. And I feel like in today's time, whether, the audio animatronics in Tiana's isn't up to what we were all expecting, they're having a lot of issues with it and whatnot. But say that there wasn't, say they came out of the gate spectacular, they're still running everything. People would still end up finding something to gripe about, just because, not because it's a Tiana ride, it's because of what it replaced to them in their eyes, so they'll always find something salty or sour or bitter about it, no matter.
It's salty, and I thought of the Salt Dome.
But I wanted to ask a question, Drew, because you had mentioned like the time frame, of a gap in a timeline, of when something new was. And correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
With Animal Kingdom, when it opened in '98, the next significant big add-on wasn't that Expedition Everest in 2006?
I believe so. Yeah, but again, that's like a perfect example of what reality is, but versus what people think reality is. One of the things that I'm constantly reminding myself of is have an open mind as I go through my life and learn. Because I'm young. And perception is reality. There's so many people on this planet, even the three of us, right? Our reality of the world that we're living in, our reality of our lives, our friends, our family, our pets, everything is perception of what we think is reality from our own personal experience, right? But yeah, that's a perfect example, right? That's Animal Kingdom, and even right now, like Animal Kingdom's getting this whole new land, which I'm so freaking excited for this land.
Me too.
I think I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say that the Tropical Americas could be better than Villain's Land. I know that's a bold statement to make.
Ooh.
But I think that mix of that classic, like you're going to this part of the world with this region, and then building on that originality with the whole village and like the lighting at nighttime, that whole cozy vibe, and Indiana Jones and Encanto and the carousel, like it just feels classic Disney at its best. I honestly think I'm gonna like that lane more than Villain's Lane. I'm gonna go out on a limb. Whenever I'll be like 20, 27, 28, I'll come back to this and be like, I was right. I'll have like a wife and kids by then.
I can see that.
In a way, I could see that though, because after experiencing Dark Universe in Epic Universe in Universal,
it's so overhyped. Sorry,
it is, because here's the thing: I enjoy Monsters Unchained,
right.
But when you look at the land as a whole, I'm like, it's kind of underwhelming. The manor itself is aesthetically beautiful, the architecture and everything, but you walk around and you see this gigantic track of the Curse of the Werewolf covered in this mosquito netting, which is to me, it like throws everything out of perspective.
It's Six Flags level.
It's that part is and that's where I can understand when you mean by with the villains. Not saying that Disney is going to go that route, but Disney, even on top of Universal, has more obstacles that they're going to have to deal with, of trying to find a middle ground of like what can be spooky or creepy or villainous and not have it overly abundance. Yeah, so I could see how with Tropical Americas, it's self-explanatory. It's like, here's the basic storyline. Here is this real world section of the tropics, and then you have Encanto and Indiana Jones tied to that. I can definitely see it, but I will say this: after the fact that they open that land, they're going to have to do something about with the park operations, because there is no way closing that park at 6
There's stuff in the works. Yeah, that's something that's coming. I know for a fact. There's one person I know that knows like everything. And he's like, yeah, there's something coming with that. Like when these rumors start, they start for a reason. So like if you see people talking about a nighttime show at Animal Kingdom, at least as of now, it's happening. You know, sometimes these things don't get announced and they get pulled. Well, like, yeah, you make a valid point. Animal Kingdom is such a beautiful park. Like, you have to have it open past 8 p.m. It really should be open until 10 p.m. once this land opens.
Oh, 100%. And I can see your point, Drew, with the Tropical Americas. I mean, one of the things I love about that park is the real world feel of it. I love the celebration of, like, it's not just animals, but it's the various cultures around the world, you know?
Don't forget your thought. But that's why when Disney talks about their fifth key in inclusion, right? You know, just being very blunt here, people think white skin, black skin. That's how people have been trained to think. You know, black and white is inclusion, but it's not. Right. Like when I look at inclusion, I think about Harmonious, how it had over 100 different languages, and Harmonious at Epcot was the most naturally beautiful, inclusive show that Disney has ever done. Harmonious is my all-time favorite show at Disney. Nothing will ever change that. I don't know how I didn't cry watching Harmonious for the last time, but I absolutely adore Harmonious. But like you said, this is so naturally inclusive, right? You have Colombia with Encanto. You have all the cultures that you could literally bring in people to work and perform in this land that are native to that country. That's inclusion to me. That's inclusion. And that's why I'm excited for it, because it's just real. It's authentic. You literally have the real authentic people, and then you're taking people into these fantasy worlds at the same time. I'm so excited.
Oh, me too. That's exactly why. That's why I'm in the same boat as you with this. I feel like that land is going to be way more intriguing to me than the villains thing. The villains thing is cool. Okay, that's cool. But to be able to be transported to South America and to experience the food, the culture, the music, that's beautiful to me. Absolutely.
Do you know why? Because I think with villains, what we're all anticipating is the attractions. Like, what are they going to end up doing, like with a full immersive dark ride incorporating the villains? Are they going to use audio animatronics? Is it going to be mixed with screens? And then is the roller coaster going to be based off of Maleficent? Are they going to incorporate a gigantic dragon? You know, like all those, like it's those small pieces that kind of trickle in, just like how I was mentioning with Dark Universe. But as a land as a whole, I think Tropical Americas would have that over villains.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I think like the perfect way to wrap up these thoughts, though, is, you know, even like going back to 9/11, you know, obviously a tragic thing, but people forget, and I don't even think people know, that Pop Century is called Pop Century because it was going to be a whole century. I don't think many people know that. Like the reason why Art of Animation exists today is because those, like you guys know at Art of Animation how the Little Mermaid rooms are like the only normal rooms at that resort. That's because those buildings were already constructed and they got abandoned when 9/11 happened because no one was traveling. But that's why it's called Pop Century. It was going to be the whole hourglass lake because you're going between the centuries, right? The 50s and then all the way up to the 90s and stuff. But again, like that was a way that Disney was impacted by real world events, but social media didn't exist yet. So you'll never see anyone complaining on social media today about Pop Century not being a whole century and how Art of Animation exists because of social media not existing. But, you know, we'll continue to hear about Tron took 5 years. Tron took 5 years when it was a business decision and they were spreading out the money over the fiscal quarters. But I think that gets my point across.
Yeah, no, well said, Drew. I love that you brought that up because that's a great point. How social media really does twist and
warps
change
reality. Yeah,
completely. Let's talk about, since we're talking about villains, let's actually talk about the new show. This is
the show that I do not like.
Disney Villains Unfairly Ever After. So, Drew, what are your thoughts, man? You and George both saw this. I mean, did you like it?
This is a picture of Pop Century, like the 20s and 30s. That was in that B. That's where Art of Animation is now. That's the Landscape of Flavors food court, Art of Animation. It literally was abandoned because of 9/11. It's one of my all-time favorite Disney facts. And I'm not saying I like that it happened because 9/11 is horrible. Don't get me wrong. Don't twist my words, people. Don't twist my words. But like that fact is fascinating. I don't think there's any denying it.
That is interesting. That is interesting. So, yeah, what are your thoughts about this show, man? This was highly anticipated. You got to see it.
Drew, before you give your thought, I just have one thing to say about it. I think the only thing unfairly was the fact that we had to watch it.
It was unfair.
was a good
no.
Yeah, so Villains Unfairly Ever After. I was so excited for the show because like this was one of the first projects that I got to cover from beginning to end. Like I vividly, like there's certain moments in my life where I remember exactly where I was in that moment. I will never forget. I was walking to the back door to take my dog out to the bathroom when I got the notification that the Disney Parks blog article was posted. I'm like, holy shit, villain show! Type, click send. So like I was here for the show from like the very beginning, covering every little detail, like the music, the storyline, the concept art. Like I was into the show. People love villains. Like it's something that I like posting about because when I post it, people engage with it. Right? As a content creator, you want people to engage with what you do. No denying that. But like, I'm sorry, I don't like this show. Even people that I saw the show for the first time at a media event. So I was with other creators, other influencers, even with Disney's PR team. I had two people on the team ask me, "Did you like the show?" And I literally told them, "That's why I hate the narrative of if you work with Disney's media team, you can't be critical or give feedback or be negative." Because I quite literally told their team in person that I don't like the show, and I was told you can think whatever you want from Disney themselves. Now, if I'm going to make the claim that I don't like the first ever significant Disney villains offering that I've ever experienced at Walt Disney World, I'm going to tell you why. So from the very beginning, Disney talked a lot about with villains that they were going to break through the glass, arrive on stage in these grand musical numbers. Now, I understand the fact that you can't have performers breaking through literal glass, right? I get that. But
I would have them do it.
You always have one comment that's so unhinged on these calls that I always laugh. But like, it's a door opening. There's no effect. Maybe I was sitting in the wrong spot, but I've watched videos and I haven't seen it. But like,
no, you're correct because it's literally you can literally see the door opening, and you're just walking right through.
Yeah, like when Cruella de Vil arrives on stage, it's like this one physical set piece. That's it. Like the mirror's there, and she just like spawns in. I'm like, is this Roller Coaster Tycoon? Like, where is she? Like,
yeah,
why is she here?
And as I said, all the doors were opening. I was waiting for Vanna White to come out. Like, it was like,
can we buy a vowel?
Like, I'm sorry, but like when Disney's promoting like these big like musical numbers with like these grand arrivals and the whole like they're proving their point. Like, yeah, they quite literally prove their point because they're talking to you. But I was super, super, super underwhelmed with how the execution was handled. There is one point in the show, I think it's Maleficent's departure. Am I correct, George? Where there's that layering of the main screen in the back and the
yes.
There is one point in the show where it was done phenomenal, and I was like, that's what needed to be done throughout the entire show. So there's one major screen in the back where you see the magic mirror at the very beginning. It's like the screens are super clear. Don't get me wrong. Like the visual media itself is objectively beautiful. The whole stage design is beautiful. Don't get me wrong. But whenever Maleficent at the end of the show walks off the stage, there is that physical prop, and it's layering. It's layering with the screen in the back and the physical prop, and it actually looks like she's leaving through a portal. Right? That was done very well. I was like, yes, that is good. There's also a very funny moment with Captain Hook and TikTok, the crocodile. It has its moments. Like there was moments where I was smiling. Even Maleficent, like there's a digital moment that connects to an on-stage moment. It has its moments, but like I don't know. Maybe it's that. What's that? I'm getting animated and I'm losing my voice. But like maybe it's that I don't connect as much to I think that I don't connect as much to Captain Hook and Cruella as I care about Maleficent as a villain. Like I like Maleficent as a villain. Once Upon a Dream is like my favorite princess song. So like having that and Maleficent in the show together, I was like, yeah, this is cool. But I didn't like the show. I will say the whole Magic Mirror original song is one of my all-time favorite Disney songs. Like I've been listening to that on Spotify on repeat. I love that song. But like I could walk into the show, watch the first 2 minutes, ignore the middle, and then watch the final 2 minutes, and I'd be happy.
I see. I'm glad you brought that up. That's what's the most frustrating thing about this show is because it's basically like a roller coaster. It's like it has the high and then it has the low, it has the high. It's like, come on, people. It's like you're teasing us here, and it's like I agree with you. The visual effects, or like the screen effects, The whole notion of using the magic mirror kind of as the portal for the villains, absolutely love it. Love the color scheme. I love how it has like the villains silhouettes on it, kind of like the that villainous game, the card game. I like that. Like, and when I was sitting there in the theater, I'm thinking, okay, this is what the land needs to be like. And then they bring out Corella and Captain Hook, and I'm like, okay, this is not what the land needs to be.
I agree. Yes. I was like, this is our first major offering for the villains. I was like, and like, I am very, very, very self-aware of the fact that I am normally always positive. Like when people come on my Twitter and they reply, do you ever dislike anything that Disney does? Like, yeah, there's plenty of things that Disney does that I don't like. I don't like how the whole Epcot transformation turned out. I don't like Luminous. I don't like this. I don't love how things are handled sometimes with like how they're talking about things. Like, yeah, it would be unhealthy if I liked everything that Disney does. But at the same time, I know if I say on Twitter that I don't like something because it's me, people are going to run with it and cause an entire storm for no reason. Rather than just saying, oh, Drew didn't like that, let's move on with our day. They'll make an entire scene and chaos out of it, right? So that's why I only really talk about these things when I'm talking to people on these interviews or whatever you want to call them, because it's a real conversation, right? So like, yes, I can appreciate, and also the fact that I've only seen the show once. Like I'm going to see it again, but I don't think my thoughts are going to change. It's one of those things where I had such a straight face on my face that that's not going to change. Meanwhile, next door at the Little Mermaid, I'm like, oh my God, I love this.
But yeah, I do agree. I do agree with you with the song. The song is a banger. I absolutely love the song. Very catchy. Yeah. The other thing that I was frustrated with was there was a scene in the show where you see Hades and Jafar, and they're kind of like bickering back and forth. But the thing is, they actually had real life actors and with all the makeup and the prosthetics, but they weren't physically on the stage. They pre-recorded that shit. And I'm like, why? Yeah. Why pre-record that? Have them on the stage and put Captain Hook and Corella in the scene and kind of have the bickering. I feel like that Disney should. I love Corella. I love Captain Hook. Don't get me wrong. But I feel like that if they want to have a little bit of an edge and a like a darker tone, I feel like Captain Hook, Corella DeVille, Yzma, they all have that kind of slapstick kind of comedy to them. Yeah. And I feel like if they have more Hades, Jafar, Ursula, Scar, obviously Maleficent, the evil queen, like those are the ones that I would like really put front and center.
So what I'm getting from you guys, from you gents, is basically like there's a tone problem with this. Like sometimes they hit the mark.
Resonate with me, yeah. I didn't feel an emotional response to what I was seeing. Which I normally feel with everything I see at Disney. But yeah, I'm really glad that you brought this up, George, because I'm tired. I'm not thinking clearly with everything right now. But like, the thing is, for those who don't know, the whole story is that these villains are trying to break through the glass to arrive on stage to present their case of who's been treated the most unfairly, right? So like in the story, it makes sense why they're not appearing on stage. They're trying to break through the glass and they're like, why aren't we being allowed on stage? But in my opinion, if the story doesn't allow them to be on stage, then your story sucks. I'm sorry. If you're going to call this Disney live entertainment, I need those performers on the stage. Like, I'm not, and like, no disrespect to the people that worked on the show. They're all very talented. Like, I'm sure that there's things that if I was a creative director that I would do that people wouldn't like, right? But like, if your story isn't going to allow you to have these actors physically on stage, to the point where like 3 minutes of the show, the center of the stage has nothing happening and there's these two little doors on the sides, that is not a good story. You start over at that point. Yeah. I'm sorry. I was in the direct center. I have this beautiful stage in front of me, some of the most beautiful screens I've ever seen, and there's literally nothing happening. There's these two actors, like you said, bickering back and forth for 3 minutes. I was like, what am I watching? Because the show starts off so good. I was like, oh yeah, I love the song. Oh yeah, bam. Out of my head. And then I'm like, and then at the end, it's like all the villains are like, yeah, villains. And then I'm like, okay, it's over.
Oh, that's crazy. Now, Drew, I want to ask you, does this make you worried for Villains Land with the way, because this is indicative of like how they handle the villains, or do you think this is more isolated to the show just itself?
Yeah, this doesn't worry me whatsoever because I mean, the Imagineers aren't working on the show whatsoever. I just think that the creative vision for the show, like the concept of the show, I think is awesome. Like, it's not even like the storyline that I dislike so much. Like, I think it's cool that like the villains are like, I think it was like, you know, she would never have gone into this deep sleep and found true love if it wasn't for me, right? So it's like it's kind of cool they take like the villain's perspective on things. Like I can appreciate it. It's a fun concept. But like to answer your question, no, it doesn't worry me at all for Villains Lane because those are entirely different teams. And I think it's good that they can take the feedback from the show. Like I was like, whenever I have time to go to Hollywood Studios next, I was planning to go to Gets Relations and leave a glowing review for Little Mermaid because of how much I loved it. And that's like one of my all-time favorite things of Walt Disney World, and also being like I didn't like the villain show. So again, that feedback's important. You just have to be respectful about it, you know.
And that's what it is, Drew. And that's what I get frustrated too when I see that all over social media. It's like the thing, right? Oh, you're a shill. You're getting paid by the Mouse House. You have to say
people genuinely think that Disney pays me, which is so funny. Because in full transparency, I really don't make a lot of money off my content. Like Twitter yesterday paid me $85 for 2 weeks of content, and that was millions of views. Like on YouTube, that would be thousands of dollars. And like one of my recent YouTube checks, like I'm being paid $100 this month from YouTube, and that was like 10, 15,000 views. Like if I'm making $150, $200 a month from content, I'm not paying my bills with this. I do it because I love it. Like people think that Disney is paying me, and people think I'm like, I had a guy the other week say, I watched one of his YouTube videos and he was so happy because he's making so much money from promoting Disney. I'm like, you're so wrong. I'm not making any money from this. I'm making like a day's worth of work at like a normal job. Like I do it because I love it. It makes me happy.
I will say, if I ended up with that $85, I would have taken myself to Steakhouse 71.
There you go.
I'm using it to pay for my annual pass, so it's just a wash.
There you go.
It works. But yeah, I don't know if you guys watch John Campea. He does more like film side stuff, right?
I like John a lot.
Oh, he's awesome. He's awesome. And he was talking about that a while back where it's like, yeah, people always think that I can't criticize movies and because I won't get invited to the premieres. It's like, he's like, I criticize movies all the time. And Disney and Warner Brothers and all these companies still invite me,
Yeah.
And a lot of times they want to hear the feedback. They want to know what's good, what's not, So.
Yeah.
And these companies know, like, it's all about the execution of how you present yourself, whether it's something positive or negative. If you do it respectfully, you do it with taste and everything, then they'll respect that.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say is like, not to go into stuff that's off the record, but Disney has told me that like we want open conversation and feedback with you creating. Because like in full transparency, the whole reason that I was okay with working with Disney on their media side and going to these media events and sometimes posting information in a certain way because they want people to see it. Like the only reason I was willing to do that is because they're open to open discussion and valid feedback. Like if they were like, you can only work with us if you're 100% positive, I would have never done it. Also, the fact that if I am always positive and I'm not critical of things, that's setting up an unrealistic expectation for a family who could be spending thousands of dollars because they're watching my content, right?
Right.
Think about how many families are booking vacations and seeing this content. Like there's dozens of people that have been covering all this recent stuff from Epic Universe to Walt Disney World to the new shows to the new theme park. And if everyone's saying that everything is perfect, right? And then you spend thousands of dollars as a result of watching these creators, and then you have a bad experience and you never come back to the park, that's not helping these companies, that's hurting them. 100%. So if I'm going out here and saying that I love Disney Villains Unfairly Ever After, come buy a ticket, come watch the show, it's a must-see, and I honestly don't like that show, that is very disingenuous, and that's setting up the company for failure. Disney doesn't want to work with people like that. They want to work with people who are open and honest. So that's why I'm being critical of this show, because I don't want you guys going into Hollywood Studios expecting to love the show. And hey, you might love the show. Like we're going to disagree on things. That's totally fine. Like There's people out there who hate Tiana's Bayou Adventure, but I love it. Again, it's all subjective, And at the same time, right next door, Little Mermaid Musical Adventure. Again, I absolutely loved it. It made me so happy. I had giant smile.
I agree with you with that.
Yeah.
Honestly, the blend and the mesh of the real life actors with what is on the screen and how they kind of just blended together. It was in the short amount of time that they made and to have people sit and watch a show and you could say it clicks, you get it. And it's like, it was so much better than what it was originally. They outdid themselves with that.
Masterpiece of storytelling. And I will say, James, I think his last name is pronounced Silson. James Silson is the show director for Little Mermaid. He's worked on Happily Ever After. Everyone loves Happily Ever After. And he also has done Momentous over at Hong Kong Disneyland. If you guys have never seen Momentous at Hong Kong Disneyland, I've never seen it in person, but listening to the soundtrack and having that memorized and watching videos of that show, I know that whenever I go to Hong Kong, I am going to be an emotional wreck. Momentous, in my opinion, is the absolute peak of Disney storytelling.
Okay.
And he also led that show. So in my opinion, I think 3 of Disney's best all-time shows have all been directed by the same guy. And I'm like, okay, I see you. But yeah, go see Little Mermaid. It's phenomenal. Absolutely incredible. And like you said, George, the fact that it's only 19 minutes long, but all the major moments are hit. And like the battle scene, I still don't have any words for how they pull off that battle scene at the end of the
I
show.
tell you what, that was done perfectly. It just like it meshed so well that I'm like, okay, but they can do that on a stage, but they can't put that in the attraction. Like that's what's like so frustrating, especially like because you have these like little montage scenes where you see Ariel trying to reach out to Eric. It blinks off, blinks on, then Eric's suddenly in the ship and he's driving. I'm like, what the hell? Like, how did they pull that off in like seconds?
When I was talking to James at the media event, I was that was the first time I've ever been talking to a creative that I look up to, and I was speechless. I was like, I don't even have words for this. He's like, it's awesome, isn't it? I'm like, yeah, you said it. But yeah, Chris, I'm super like whenever you make it out here and see Little Mermaid, like in Villains, I'm super curious to see what you think because I feel like the three of us usually think pretty similarly. Like we're all self-aware of how these parks are. We're all open-minded, but we're critical where we need to be. And just the fact that George and I are agreeing on these two shows, it makes me think that you'd probably agree too. But I'm curious once we get out here.
I think so. And I love Little Mermaid as a franchise just because of the significance for the Walt Disney Company. That was really the movie that really got it back on track. And I'm a huge Howard Ashman fan. I love Howard Ashman. And also to kind of touch upon what you're saying earlier too, Drew, where you were saying like your content, right? You have to be negative and be honest sometimes because you don't want to set families up for disappointment. That's a great point. You have to because I feel like honestly, Epic Universe kind of fell victim to that. I think there were so many years of like kind of gassing this park up that when the thing started to open, people were like, "Oh man, well that wasn't really where I thought it was going to be," you know, because it was years of like this thing is going to change everything, and it really kind of didn't. And I think when people are honest and they say how they really feel about these things, I think that you provide a better, more realistic expectation going into these projects. So it's good when you do that because the family knows now, okay, you know, I expect, I'm not going in thinking this thing is going to blow my mind anymore. I have a realistic expectation for this stuff. So.
Yeah, and that's why, like, if anyone ever asks me, like, should I, like, you know, like, sometimes people literally just DM on me on Twitter and being like, hey, coming down here, like, what do you suggest I do? Like, I'm not going to go be like, oh, yeah, go wait an hour for Luminous. Because in my opinion, Luminous is so boring that I would walk away from that show after the intro and I'd be okay with that. Because, like, I love the original song at the beginning, the Heartbeat Symphony. I love that song. It's gorgeous. You know, the fireworks, the uses of fireworks. Even the finale is great. But the middle is so slow, like, I don't know, like, I know people who love Luminous, but for me, I'm not going to suggest that, you know? So that's something that I'm like, as my content becomes more popular, like for me, when I post content, I'm just doing it because I love it. But like my Muppets content yesterday was viewed 1.4 million times. And sometimes I have to remember like how many people are seeing these things. And I'm like, am I being critical enough? Am I being too positive? Like I'm even at a point right now with my own content where I don't know what to do anymore because I don't know how it comes across. Well, I don't know how I am perceived.
Well, I could tell you as a person looking into your content.
Please do, yes.
I honestly, and people who know me, I don't mince my words. I don't
go for it.
Or Candy Crush anything. So, but honestly, you have a perfect balance of what is positivity and what is constructive criticism. Because honestly, if I was looking for advice and if I was like a newbie or a greenhorn going into this and I didn't know anything about it, I would lean more towards your content than someone on this side that is just all positive. And it's like, okay, well, how could I take you serious? Like, you mean to tell me every single thing here is like top notch, like crystal perfect? Or you have the other spectrum where people are just completely negative just to be negative. And you're like, okay, come on. You mean to tell me like everything is negative, but yet this is the #1 family vacation destination in the world? What is still drawing people? So honestly, I take you serious as a content creator, especially me being a content creator myself. And it's like, I appreciate that because if there's ever a time where hopefully, you know, I can get on some sort of media list, I would be the same way. I would give my positive critiques, but I also would give my not so positive critiques, just like between these two shows. I would applaud Disney for The Little Mermaid. When it comes to the villain show, I'd be like, take a seat. We're going to be here for a while.
Well, and it helps Disney. Like, we all love this company so much, and we all love these parks, and it helps Disney when they get that feedback, that honest feedback, and we get better attractions, better shows when we're honest.
Yeah, but like I said, in full transparency, I've been at a point where like I don't know what to do with my content anymore. Like, I know we're an hour and 20 minutes into this, and not everyone's going to be watching at this point. But like, if there's people that are watching this that follow me on Twitter, and you guys don't mind reaching out, like, how do you perceive what I'm doing? Because lately, more than ever, I feel like I've been known as like the positive Disney pixie duster guy, but I don't want to be viewed as that anymore. And like, unfortunately, I feel like that started with my Tiana coverage because I was so positive about it. But like, honest to God, that's because I love that ride so much. Like, but again, that's personal because I dedicated 5 months of my life to covering it. So by the time I got to go on it, I had already loved it, even though I hadn't even been on the ride. But I don't know. I just feel like as more people start to view what I do, I need to be more open about it. Because like, I've been very open about it on this call or whatever you want to call it, right? But not everyone's going to see this. So like, they have the perception of who I am based on my Twitter, but not who I actually am. Like, as if you actually were on the phone or talking to me in person, So I don't know. I feel like that's just like an unfortunate downside of social media is, again, people thinking they know who you are and what you think and what you believe and what you do based on like this persona that you create versus who you actually are. And I know I've said that like 20 times. It drives me nuts, but at the same time, I feel like I've kind of contributed to it myself. But like, at the same time, I also am a glass is half full kind of person. Like, I don't want to pick these things apart just to do it because I still love these parks. Like, am I happy about Tom Sawyer Island and the Liberty Bell going away? No, I love the Liberty Bell more than anything in Magic Kingdom. I guess like maybe I love Seven Dwarfs Mine Train and Tiana's a little bit more maybe. But like, it's in my top 3 in Magic Kingdom. It's like Mine Train, Tiana's, Liberty Bell. Like, those are my top 3. Am I happy about the Liberty Bell going? No, not at all. But I also know the fact that I'm going to love the new Cars area. I'm going to love Villains Lane, and that's what I'm going to be experiencing with my wife and kids in the future. So that's going to be their happy place where their memories are. So like, I'm even thinking that far in advance. I don't know. It's just one of those things where I feel like no matter what you do, you can't win, and people are going to hate you even if you're just breathing.
No, 100%, Drew. In the content creation space, that's absolutely what happens. And a lot of times what it is someone has an opinion, and then if they watch your content and say you're positive about it, or let's say you're negative about it, but that opinion doesn't correspond with how they feel.
Yeah, they attack you. Yeah.
They attack you. They try to discredit you instead of just being, hey, I respectfully disagree.
Especially when you start to become more successful. The more successful you become, the more bigger you become, the more your name gets put out there. Then, unfortunately, you get the good with the bad, and it's like trying to juggle that balance.
100%. Now let's talk a little Disneyland Resort tonight. We got some crazy news.
There's nothing really going on. I mean,
no, not much. Not much.
Just a couple small things.
Small, But we got Pandora moving into Hollywood, not Hollywood Land, all of Hollywood Land, but a good portion of it over there by Monsters Inc. And it's going to dip in and bleed into that bus load unload area.
I bleed it.
Yeah,
that's a good way to say it. Yeah,
I don't know. This is crazy, right? We've been speculating on this for a long, long time. But Drew, what are your thoughts on that? Is that like now space wise, maybe it'll fit, but is it a weird spot for you with Hollywood and all that, or what do you think?
It's where I expected it to go, just because like there's nowhere else for it to go. Like you could have closed like Goofy Sky School, but again, there's no space there. Like it's either you do this or you build a third theme park at that point. So like when they announced it at D23, like honestly, my mind went to, like I think this was kind of like a general thing in the community where like we all kind of thought this is where it was going to go. I think my biggest question is how long is it going to take to reroute that monorail track? Like I don't think that Disney's going to build an entire rockwork section around the monorail track. I feel like it'd be more cost effective to somehow reroute it and then leave your whole land open, because that's going to create more of that depth, like the forced perspective with the rockwork, because the forced perspective in this land is going to have to be top notch. Like if that most recent piece of concept art that we just got, like how far it goes back, I think that's just an incredible use of storytelling technology with the rockwork. But yeah, I mean, I think as long as this boat ride kind of nails the technology, I'm really hoping it's an updated version of that tech from Shanghai Pirates. And then it's just like a beautiful area with like one good restaurant. I think that's fine. Just make it a solid offering overall. But I think the biggest thing that I've seen that I'm kind of surprised about is like people don't want Pandora at Disneyland from what I've seen on my posts, which I've thought is interesting because like the movies make so much money at the box office But like I've seen a lot of comments, we don't want Pandora, we don't want Pandora, and I was kind of surprised by that. But again, maybe that's just what I'm seeing personally. So
No, I've seen a lot of that too, and I'm surprised by that because I've only been to Walt Disney World once, and that was one of my favorite things. I mean, I fell in love with Pandora, like, and we're gonna get a version of that here in California. I don't know. I mean,
and you still, and honestly, you only experienced it during the day. Yeah. You still haven't even experienced the bioluminescent part of it because the park closes while the sun's still up.
Yeah, I was going to say it's impossible to experience it at night. Even I couldn't see it at night, and I love it.
You know, and it's like it's crazy. I mean, this is one of Imagineering's best pieces of work, and we're getting a version of that in DCA of all parks. I don't know why my fellow Californians are so upset. I really don't. I mean, I'm happy now. I do have concerns though that like. How do you tie this into the park? Like, how do you go from Hollywood Boulevard to the alien planet? Okay, that's a weird transition.
I have an even bigger question. How do you train your dragon?
Well, that's a good one too. Absolutely. But
we gotta ask Rough Nut and Tough Nut, and they give us a funny answer.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, it's gonna be kind of strange to see how that. But hey, who knows? We might not even have a California theme. Maybe part of this Pandora thing is to rebrand the whole park into something a little different. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, it might happen. I'm not going to say anything else, though. I mean, it's not like the Olympics is coming up or anything.
You know, absolutely. Well, and you rebrand that park into something like, cinematic adventure or something like that. Now you open up the floodgates because now you can put Moana in there. You can put a Villain's Land in there. You can do anything you want. The sky is the limit.
In my opinion, I think Disney's cinematic adventure, I don't know, I feel like it's better than Disney Adventure World. Like, come on. I still don't know how they landed on Disney. And like Tom Fitzgerald is on that. Like, I expect a little bit more from Tom Fitzgerald than Disney Adventure World. I'm sorry, man.
Come on.
But yeah, I think keeping DCA, I think is important too. Because like, for the general family, again, we've said it 5,000 times on this call, but keeping DCA is important. So I think cinematic adventure would be perfect. And again, it just takes away all that.
But it wasn't that the main focus was to make this Walt Disney Studios park better. And then they come up with Adventure World. Like, I don't understand that.
Mom, Dad, let's go to Disney Adventure World. Woo!
It sounds like a family vacation, like a Griswold family vacation.
Yeah, I was going to say, it sounds like a fake.
Or the theme park in Beverly Hills Cop 3.
Oh my gosh, that's wild. So we'll see how they tie this whole thing together. But now, I mean, Drew, I know you're a big Monsters Inc. guy. I mean, are you upset about the loss of the attraction? Or I mean, you guys might get some of those animatronics though.
I will say the thing that I find is very ironic with this whole Monsters Inc. thing, right? Honestly, I'm shocked the Muppets fans haven't been talking about this yet, right? Because it just gives them a talking point, kind of like a Disney, like a fuel to go after Disney, right? Which everyone does these days. Well, like as they're closing one Monsters Inc. attraction, on the other side of the country, you're investing all this money into monsters, and it's replacing the Muppets. Like, what signal is that sending to your fan base? And like, don't get me wrong, I understand that Mike and Sully's rescue adventure journey ride is nothing compared to the first ever suspended coaster with a vertical lift. Like, one is like a C ticket, one's an A+ E ticket. Like, I know you can't compare them, but I do think it's a little ironic that as you're closing something from this franchise, you're about to open an entire land based on this franchise. But again, I'm an animatronic guy, and I never really get to see those animatronics. I'm just not at Disneyland a lot. Like, even when I was at Disneyland in August, I didn't get to go on the ride because I had no time. I think the last time I went on this ride was 2015.
Wow.
Like, those animatronics are so good. Like, that was a very cost-effective reimagining of Superstar Limo. But like, if we get those here,
But here's the other thing too. Like with Monsters Inc. closing, it actually is a piece of DCA 1.0 that we're not really thinking of, because a lot of those audio animatronics were just basically reskinned from the celebrities that were in Superstar.
Yeah, and Drew Carey, man.
Drew Carey. Yeah, he's still there. Yeah, it's pretty wild. It's pretty wild. Now, what are your thoughts on Coco? We got Coco now. It's not going on the pier, but it'll be like in between Paradise Gardens and the pier. You like that placement, or?
But before you answer that, Joe, really quick, of what we were talking about, someone posted on social media, and I thought it was quite genius because I didn't really put two and two together, that removing Monsters Inc. and putting Avatar They're
So
removing a giant blue creature, Sully, and they're putting in a giant blue creature, Sully. I thought that was genius. I forget who posted that.
I saw that post. Yeah, absolutely genius. And kind of like how I said earlier with like the whole key with like the Muppets moving in, I think that that would be a golden Imagineering post. If you created like an original animation of like them shaking hands and passing over the torch, that would go so viral. Like, again, if you just put a sense of humor into everything you do, I think your fans are going to connect with that. Like, if you look back at the Disney Experiences Showcase last August, that was almost a year ago. Holy shit, time is flying. When they had that whole Deadpool thing where Deadpool,
dude,
like, come on, that was one of the best things this company has ever done. He's making fun of Josh Tomorrow on stage. Like, come on.
It was incredible.
No one likes a broken Yeti.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Oh, it was so good. It was so good.
Just have fun. Just let these people be creative. Like, these are some of the most creative people in the world. Just let them be creative. But yeah, that post was hilarious. And I'm like, that's one of those posts where I'm like, great. I wish I would have thought of that. Because like every once in a while, like I'll try to think of like a funny post. Because like that's even something that like just earlier today, this is one that I was so proud of. I edited Statler and Waldorf in front of MuppetVision. Like, where do we go now? Because they've been unbolted from the seats. Like that was a post that I've been wanting to make. Like I've been like, this is gonna do so well, and it did well. I got my goal completed. But yeah, it's just like we need more fun in this world. Like you turn on the news now and you see someone like got killed. Like that's the first thing you see on the news. It's just negativity. Like
100%.
My family doesn't even have cable TV anymore. All I watch are the Dodgers baseball games, and all whatever the free channels are. We don't even pay for TV. It's so bad. But like, I could go on a whole rant about how our world is and how like people accept the reality of the world that we're living in, and it shouldn't be the reality of the world that we're living in. But that's not what we're here to talk about. Let's talk about Coco, because Coco's a fun, happy thing, right? I think my biggest concern with this Coco ride is like the size of the ride. But at the same time, whenever creatives are put in interesting positions like this, it can result in some of the most unique and best offerings. Yeah. Like I was reading an article the other day from Park Place. And Park Place is usually a pretty critical group of Disney. Like they're not necessarily on board with like the current Disney. But supposedly one of their sources is claiming that Imagineering is looking into doing creative methods with this ride, like maybe using a turntable. So you have like multiple Coco scenes, but the boats are following the scene to save face. And I was like, okay. That would be incredible. Like,
yeah.
If you come into a scene and you see Miguel with his guitar and it's like on a turntable, so you're following Miguel and then you like move to the next room and you go around a little loop and then you're on a turntable, like that would save a ton of space and it increases your ride time. So you can have like a 5 or 6 minute long boat ride, but it's in a very small building. And I'm like, if their source is accurate on that, all the credit to them. Because I think I'm a pretty creative person with how I think behind the scenes. Like no one would ever really know what I think about, but like I'm thinking about the shit all day. Like all I ever think about is like creative stuff and like how these things could be. It's literally all I eat. It's like if I had a shirt, eat, drink, sleep, Disney, right? But like that would be a brilliant use. It's like the original Journey into Imagination, right? Like with how you followed the Dream Finder in the ship, the Dream Catching Machine. Like if you did that with Coco Ride, where you have all these incredible animatronics, like that would be an absolute brilliant solution to not having a lot of space. I just hope that the first ever Coco ride isn't like what we've seen with Rapunzel's over in Tokyo, because it's only like 3 minutes long. And I think that'd be very disappointing. Like, sure, it would be beautiful, but I want like if they're comparing the inspiration for this ride to Haunted Mansion and Pirates of the Caribbean, it needs to be 5 or 6 minutes long, in my opinion.
100%, Drew. And you're absolutely right about how Disney has a history of really creative solutions when it comes to like hurdles, right? Like, so for example, Haunted Mansion, I mean, the whole reason why we have the stretching room is to get you underneath the berm and off to the other side. Indiana Jones Adventure, same thing. You go through that cool queue area, which feels like you're really like going through this temple because of that challenge of getting you underneath the berm and all that. So if they can do something like that, if Park Place is right about that, where you're going to create this boat ride where it's on that turntable, I love that idea. I love that.
That would be like the modern version of like what you've said with like, kind of like how it's like those things you see on social media where it's like, did you know this Disney fun fact? And I feel like it's always like, the Haunted Mansion show building is either hidden behind the facade out here at Walt Disney World or at Disneyland, like you said, with the train track, or even with Pirates going under the train track, and that's why the drop is there. I feel like that would be the 2020s version of that. Like we don't have something like that in this decade, this generation. So when I was reading that, I'm like, I really hope that their source is accurate on this. And again, all the credit to them if they're right on that. But that would just be an absolutely brilliant solution. And that kind of would, if they do that, that would prove that Imagineering isn't creatively bankrupt. It's just they haven't necessarily needed to do that because that just comes back to Disneyland. You know, it's how it was built and how everyone surrounded Disneyland. It's just one of those unfortunate realities of the space that they have out there and how they're kind of being creative now with Disneyland Forward and trying to expand the resort as a whole.
Yeah, and one of the things I love about the Coco edition to DCA, number one, it's perfect for that park. You know, with right the Mexican culture, and it's the same reason why I love Animal Kingdom. We talked about earlier with the cultures, and it's like I just love that stuff, man. And so this is going to be really, really cool. What do you think about that, George? In terms of the turntable idea, do you like that? If done right,
I do love when Disney can find when they have an obstacle or a challenge, and they can create something so spectacular. It's basically, you know, if you have lemons, you know, make lemonade, you know, so to speak. So I think it would be a very distinct kind of ride system that they can utilize even moving forward, even after Coco, you know, that they can incorporate that. I am with you, Drew. I do hope that it's not something like Tangled where everything is spectacular, but it's all spectacular in only like 3 minutes. You know, that would be very underwhelming. And I do hope that based off of the placement of this attraction that, you know, they can have a little bit more breathing room, you know, because that was a big concern of us, you know, when we were talking about it, like trying to fit, you know, configure where is this going. And sure enough, it is going, you know, behind the Incredicoaster. But it's also even just going to be an obstacle, even trying to get people around back there, because the entranceway is going to be where the parade floats usually come out. So you have people going out there and then having to like bank a left and then go around, basically make it like a L shape. It's like, I'm very curious to see like how they're going to get, are they going to make us go underground in a tunnel and come up?
You know, here's the thing, and we talked about, I'm very curious what Drew thinks about this too. I'm thinking they might get rid of parades at DCA. A lot of the secondary parks, we haven't had a parade at Epcot in I don't know how long. Hollywood Studios doesn't have a current parade. Animal Kingdom, I mean, there's like little cavalcades here and there, but I wonder if they don't feel like these secondary parks really need parades. Do you think possibly, Drew, that we will see a situation here where they figure, you know what, it's just a necessary evil. We just got to get rid of the parades to make way for the expansion?
Yeah, and I feel like it could be one of those things too, where it's like, you know, honestly, maybe they just don't want to spend the money on the parades anymore when you're putting all this money into operating these attractions. Like if you're doubling the size of Avengers Campus, you're putting in a whole Avatar land, and you're putting in a Coco boat ride, you know, maybe they're just like, you know, we want to put the money into the attractions themselves, and we put our workforce into staffing these rides, so we're not going to necessarily put the money into entertainment. You know, that's obviously not what we want to hear as Disney fans. But maybe that's the unfortunate reality of the situation is you're trading parades and maybe some entertainment for 3 major e-tickets. Is that a possibility? I think so. Yeah. But at the same time, I do think that there's long-term plans that could solve that problem to bring back parades, even if they're gone for a limited time. Like if you get rid of that parade area because you literally can't run the parades anymore because of, you know, you're getting rid of the backstage area for it. If your future plans then bring that parade area back, then you're good at that point. Like for example, with Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, if I'm not mistaken, I think part of the Runaway Railway show building is just dedicated to parade storage. Like that building is so massive back there. You know, they cleared out some of the backstage stuff, but then the future plan at the time was a railway. You know, it's open now, obviously, but they planned with the ride to still be able to have that space there. It's just in a different building, right? So to answer your question, I think that the parades will be gone for a little while. But long term, they'll come back. They'll just have to find a way around how to literally store everything.
Okay, interesting. Any, George, before we move on to our final topic, which is Josh Giamaro, do you want to touch upon anything with Coco or?
Yeah, just basically everything that we've been saying. Just I'm very curious to see creatively how they're going to move the park operations, like with the guest flow going, you know, to and fro. What is even the exit going to be? Is the exit going to be the Pixar Promenade where we all thought that was going to be the entranceway? You know, there's still a lot of questions that we need answering. And I think just based off of how it looks, I think Disney is definitely going to get very creative with both Avatar and Coco of how they're going to do this transitioning to, you know, entering through the queue and the ride itself and then going through the exit for sure.
Yeah, well said. Final topic: Josh DeMarlo's making some moves in at Disney. Like there was a report. I don't know if
Future
you saw,
CEO.
that's what I want to ask you, because the other day there was a report. I think it was from Hollywood Reporter saying he's he's in the lead right now, internally at least, for internal candidates.
Yep.
I used to be really bullish on Dana Walden having this, but I think she's lost ground. I think Josh is making moves, man. I mean, what do you think, Drew? You think we're gonna get Josh?
Yeah, I think Josh will be the next CEO of the company. This might be a hot take, but again, I think your guys' audience might, hear me out. Versus if I posted this on Twitter, I'd be called a shill. I'd be called a pixie duster. I'd be called an idiot. I'd be called things that I can't say here because I don't want to cuss, even though I've said shit like 20 times. No one heard any of that, right? Yes, I do think Josh will be the next CEO of the company. This is something I was talking to with a guy that I talked to on Twitter, and he made a really good point. He used the word that I think is the word that I'm going to use now. I can't take credit for it, but he said, I think Josh will be a transformative CEO. And I was like, that's kind of the perfect way to say it. In my opinion, Josh has his big three already lined up, which to me, again, just to me, proves that he would be a fantastic CEO. I've always liked Josh for what it's worth, even when he was Disneyland president, and then he was here for a little bit, and then he got promoted. He worked his way up pretty quickly once he got to these, leadership roles. But I would say his big three in order are, number one, this turbocharging of the parks, right? The $30 billion into the experiences segment. You have the expansion of all your parks around the world. You have the expansion of the cruise line fleet. That's a massive win for your board of directors, for your investors. The parks fans are going to love it, right? In the big picture, you're still going to have the people coming to the parks. Even if they say they're never going again because you're closing MuppetVision and there was America, they're still going to show up. Number two, and I'm going to talk a little bit about this if that's okay, because in my opinion, no one is talking about this Disney and Epic Games thing. And I understand that no one's talking about it because they probably don't play Fortnite. They don't care about the game. Fun fact about me, I've played Fortnite every single week since May of 2018. Wow. So 7 years now, I've played Fortnite every week. I've watched this game from the very beginning stages to where it is today. Fortnite has 100 million active players per month. And Disney is having a mode inside of this game, supposedly at the end of next year, right? There are a ton of kids who play Fortnite. So in my opinion, I think that, like, even in that Hollywood Reporter article, Bob Iger, supposedly a quote from one of their sources, that Bob Iger views this Disney and Epic Games thing as a legacy project. It is a legacy project. This is one of the most important decisions in the history of the company, but no one's talking about it. When you are going to be introducing Disney to 100 million players, I think it's every single month, every year, even if it's every year, right? I got to look at the stat, but like 100 million, let's just say that number, right? Like, come on. If they put MuppetVision 3D into Fortnite, like, there would be kids watching that show for the first time ever because it's in Fortnite. Like, no one's
also too, the gaming community may not be anywhere intertwined with the theme park community, so they may know absolutely nothing of what's going on. So when you put the realm of the quality of the theme parks and put it in a digital world, you're then opening up new doors for a whole brand new audience. And from what you're saying is basically 100 million people.
Yeah.
Like, that's impressive.
Yeah. I was reading an article the other day with Tim Sweeney, who's the CEO of Epic Games. Like, I follow Epic Games stuff. Like, honestly, my dream job with Disney that I'm going to try to get, in full transparency, like, I'm at the point where I'm going to be like, Disney, you guys need to let me handle, in my opinion, they've not handled this Disney time Epic Games thing to the level that they need to. They're spending $1.5 billion. And the only reason that anyone knows that they teased Magic Kingdom and Galaxy's Edge in Fortnite is because I posted it. There was 34,000 people watching the Epic Games live stream the other day. What? And I didn't post it until a day after, because as I was watching that Epic Games stream is when they announced the closure for Tom Sawyer Island in the Rivers with the car stuff. So I intentionally waited 24 hours after. Reason number one, because I didn't want it to get overlooked with the Cars news. Reason number two, I wanted to see if anyone else picked up on it. Sure enough, no one picked up on it. And the other day when I posted about it, it's like a really short clip. You see Cinderella Castle. This is Epic. This is Unreal Engine. This is Magic Kingdom inside of Fortnite, and this is Galaxy's Edge. The video's not loading. Come on, internet, work. I'm trying to prove a point here. It's not loading. Okay, I have the blue circle of death, but Galaxy's Edge is in Fortnite too. You're going to be able to go into Magic Kingdom and Galaxy's Edge inside of a freaking video game, in a literal one-to-one recreation, because Unreal Engine is so advanced. For those of you guys who don't know, Unreal Engine, it's a real-time rendering tool. Like, everything is happening in the moment. Smuggler's Run is run on Unreal Engine. That's why it's real. Like it reacts to you. And things that no one else is talking about is the whole Mandalorian Grogu mission is going to be running on Unreal Engine 5, and the current version is running on Unreal Engine 4. So when Smuggler's Run gets this update, Smuggler's Run is going to be like 100 times better, just literally like technologically speaking. So like this whole Epic Games thing, when Josh D'Amaro said that was my idea, I'm like, yes. Like in my opinion, Josh deserves to be CEO single-handedly because of this decision. That's how strongly I feel about it.
Wow.
This Fortnite thing is massive, and no one is talking about it because, again, it's George. I think you're 100% correct. Whenever I post about this Fortnite stuff, like I was shocked that Epic post did well. Like whenever I post about Fortnite stuff, it normally doesn't do well. I've only posted a few times about it, but like my engagement is lower compared to other news things. But yeah, like I think that this whole Epic thing is just massive, and like I really want to talk to Disney about like, let me handle this. Just let me be an intern for a year. Let me cover it. I'll promote the hell out of it. Because like I honest to God don't think that there's anyone who understands Disney and Epic Games as deeply as I do. I would make that statement. That's where I will be confident in myself. I normally don't make statements like that, but that's how confidently I feel about this whole thing. That's enough Epic Games talk. Just know that this collaboration is going to be absolutely massive in ways that you'll never expect, and there might be some Disney Parks integration for it as well. That's all I can say.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up because it is true. I mean, it is even for us. Like we have brought it up at times, like in conversation, but it's basically like in a pastime where it's not really in the forefront of thinking, oh, could this be one of the major decisions of what is going to boost tomorrow's chances of becoming CEO?
He's very aggressive. He knows how to, like you were saying, Drew, he worked his way up this ladder very fast.
Yeah.
So he knows what he's doing, My only concern with him is the studio side. Hopefully he can get on that end of it, Is that a concern to you too?
Yeah, I think a little bit, but like honestly, in full transparency, I'm a Parks fan before I'm an entertainment fan, like on the side of Disney Entertainment. And like I think it was a couple of years ago, there was like the number of them spending like $9.6 billion on like movies and streaming, and they were going into like debt on that. Meanwhile, we're getting budget cuts at the parks like Epcot. Like, no, I want a parks-centered CEO running this company. Dana Walden, she seems like a nice lady. She's done some interviews and she sounded very professional and CEO-like. Like nothing against that woman. She speaks very well. She knows what she's doing. She's very obviously PR trained. But like Josh is a parks-centered CEO. He's worked his way up from like running Animal Kingdom to running Disneyland to running Walt Disney World. And like, sure, he's made some decisions that people aren't going to like Muppets and Tom Sawyer Island, Rivers of America. But again, like the fact that he was willing to make those decisions that's going to make the company money is a decision that's going to make the board and the investors like him to make him that CEO. And also Abu Dhabi, which we haven't even talked about.
Right. No, and that's one thing too. I do respect that about Josh in that you need to take risks. Like I don't want a CEO who's safe either. Mm-hmm. Like I like the fact that he's looking at the landscape going, you know what? Let's go ahead and get rid of Muppets and let's do this instead. Let's go ahead and transform Magic Kingdom drastically. Yeah. Like I know not every fan's gonna love it. It's gonna be controversial, but to have the guts to do it though, I think is in the spirit of what Disney was built on, taking those risks and sort of like, aiming for the fences, right?
Yeah, and what I think is most impressive is that people still ask the guy for pictures and talk to him while he's closing their favorite things, myself included. Like, I loved Harmonious, I loved Enchantment, I love Splash Mountain, like all these things that are closing. But like, again, I think it's just the fact that I view everything through a business perspective now, because that's just what allows me to keep my sanity, because I understand why they're happening, so I don't get upset anymore. But yeah, like I would love, one of my long-term goals is to do like an actual real interview with Josh, not not telling him the questions beforehand, just having like a real open conversation where it's kind of just like a conversation about who he is as a person and what it's like behind the scenes making these decisions and literally signing papers to close Muppets. Like, talk me a little bit how that came to be and how you made that decision and like how you decided to put Monsters Inc. there. So you at least have your Imagineers morale at a high point because of the big project, hoping to deliver on something that your diehard fans and your general fans can appreciate. Like, I would just love to talk to the guy like on a one-to-one level for an extended period of time and kind of share that with the Disney community and see what the reaction is. I just pulled up the Epic Games article that I think is kind of a fascinating fact is what I was trying to say. But yeah, this is a 1.5 billion equity stake. And the fact that they have here that I think is fascinating is that the Marvel Nexus War live event, which is Fortnite does these incredible live events. It's like a one-time thing where you go in and like it's like a storyline thing in the game. The Marvel event drew 15.3 million players live. 15.3 million people were watching an event in a video game all around the world. So just think about the fact that now every time Disney makes a decision for their parks, they're automatically going to have access to millions more people to promote their product in a video game. You don't even have to do it physically, which is just absolutely fascinating. And they're claiming in this article that there's more than 3 billion video game players worldwide right now, which is insane.
Wow. That is insane.
So even if Fortnite's only 100 million of that 3 billion, if you do Disney, I think that 100 million is going to turn into 125 million, and Fortnite's just going to grow and grow and grow. And if Fortnite grows and Disney makes money, then the parks benefit from it, and we get more in-person experiences. So yeah, in my opinion, I would actually say Epic Games is number one, followed by the turbocharging, followed by Abu Dhabi. I would put it in that order.
Which, speaking of which, since you did bring it up, what is your overall thoughts on Abu Dhabi? I mean, because we didn't get to have you on to actually talk about it when the news broke. Because I mean, I think we all were like on the like West End saying like, oh my gosh, like what the hell is this? We weren't expecting this, and it was like, so what's your overall? Because you did put it in your top 3. So overall, what's your take on that?
I might get some shit for this too, but again, I'm going to speak my mind. I'm being open and honest here. In my opinion, this Abu Dhabi theme park is the most excited I've ever been to cover a project. And I know some people watching this are probably part of the LGBTQ community, and they're like, how could you say that? But again, hear me out. I'm not going to ignore certain things and form this narrative, right? Like I'm going to address everything. So yes, there's massive concerns that people have that are in the LGBTQ community about visiting that country and their laws and those things, right? I made it a mission to talk to people. Like I did this privately. I've never even talked. I think I talked about it on a podcast that hasn't aired yet. So this will be the first time that I've said this publicly. But I actually have talked to people that know people who live in Abu Dhabi that have heard it through them directly. And I also reached out to people who live in Abu Dhabi. And I said, is the perception of what Americans are thinking right now the reality of the country that you live in? Every single one of them said no.
Wow.
So a lot of the things that we are hearing about Abu Dhabi right now are not true. Now, I'm not saying that gay people or lesbians should go over there and just not act gay. I'm not saying that at all. Like, I think that those comments are extremely tone deaf, and people should be able to act who they are and be who they are, express themselves freely. I'm all for it. I don't care what someone's sexual preferences, what they dress like. I truly do not care. If you're happy with your life, that's all I care about. Enjoy your life. It's your life. You live it.
100%.
But I do think that with this park and that Disney attaching their name to this park, and with how much that country is growing, it leaves so much room for growth in that country for them to change their stance on people in that community by the time that this park opens, right? I don't think that Bob Iger and Josh DeMario are going to sign off on this project if they're genuinely worried about attaching the Disney name to this by the time it opens. I think that country is going to be completely different in the social climate. Like, is that the right word to use? Like, just like by the time this park opens, that country is going to change how it maybe views the LGBTQ community to where people can feel comfortable going there. And also just the fact that this is a tourist area. Like, you're not going to live there, right? It's a vacation. Like I've seen people say that lived in Abu Dhabi. Some people that I were talking to they're like, yeah, in the tourist areas, you never even really see police. So you don't have to worry about it. They're like, just don't be an idiot and you're not going to get in trouble, you know?
Yeah.
But something I was also thinking about is like, Disney also talked about this themselves, is that there's probably going to be LGBTQ people living here in the United States that get job opportunities because of this park. So it's directly benefiting people who live here in the US, which benefits our economy, which is a good thing. And it also allows people to live out their dreams of working on a theme park. Like, I think that if I was wanting to work in the creative industry and work on a theme park, I would want to work on this Abu Dhabi park because it has pretty much an unlimited budget. It's probably going to be over $10 billion.
And I was just going to bring that up on a business standpoint.
Yeah.
I thought that honestly was a one-time lightning in a bottle kind of thing that Disney had with the relationship with Japan. And I thought this would never happen again. But the fact that it is, and Abu Dhabi is willing to finance and put out their own money, and Disney doesn't have to put a cent to it. They just basically, they get the check signed, they do the R&D, they build it.
Right.
They get, compensated for it and what have you, having the name on it. And eventually, I mean, even look at Japan, they wanted a a ship added to the Disney Cruise Line fleet. Now, even while this one's being built, they're saying, hey, we're thinking about wanting a second one.
Well,
Abu Dhabi might be thinking to say, hey, you know what? If Japan's going to get them, we want them too. And what does that do? That grows out even the cruise line industry. And again, do you really think Disney's going to deny that? No, because they don't have to put out the money for it.
Well, yeah, and that's why it's fantastic too, from that creative standpoint, and especially for the domestic parks here, because Abu Dhabi can do all the R&D stuff, right? Like you mentioned, George, right? And sign those checks, and then now it's a much cheaper process to bring those amazing attractions here to California and Florida. So that's a huge win.
But yeah, I just think like, I don't know. I hope that by the time this park opens, people can be comfortable going there, no matter what their preferences of anything in life. And there's no concerns about that. But again, like Disney, I would not support this project if Disney was funding it. If Disney was funding this project, putting their own money out in a country like that right now, I don't think I'd be supporting it. But like, again, from a business perspective, if you're Josh D'Amaro and Bob Iger and you're going over there and you're seeing how this country is exploding, and all the growth and research and just like that technology that they have over there, and you have an opportunity to attach the Disney name to it with an unlimited check, and you're not spending a penny, you're benefiting your company by having more people working for you, allowing more people to live their dreams in a creative industry. Like this is literally going to open the door for thousands of people to get jobs in this industry that would not exist without morale. And like people aren't talking about that. But like, again, if people aren't excited about that because they don't feel comfortable going to that country right now, I can totally understand that. I'm not saying that not to think that way. But for me personally, I'm not going to ignore that this is phenomenal for the theme park industry, looking at it from an objective standpoint. Also, the fact that I just cover theme parks. Like, for example, if you turn on CNN, right? CNN is pretty left-leaning. I don't think their reporters are necessarily happy about covering President Trump right now, but they're going to report on it anyway because that's their job, right? I don't think Fox News was necessarily happy to talk about President Biden because Fox News is pretty right-leaning, but the people report on it because that's their job. Like, I'm not going to ignore this park's existence just because I disagree with certain things happening in the world or happening in that country. I have to report on it. That's what I do. It's not necessarily a personal thing. But in full transparency, personally, I am very happy about it. So if you want to come after me for that, you have the power to. It doesn't change that I'm going to cover it. I'm going to cover it. I just think that like people forget that sometimes you do things because it's a part of what you do in life. And my first thought was with the news, like when people report on the news, they're not necessarily always thrilled about covering what they're covering. They're just doing it and doing it professionally and respectfully because that's their job. So those are my thoughts on Abu Dhabi. And like, again, I just think that's a massive thing for Josh D'Amaro. You know, it's transformative, right? It's going to unlock the Disney name. So I think they said 500 million people within 4 hours of where the park's being built.
That's
it's going to be undoubtedly going to be the best Disney theme park in the world, and no doubt about it, over $10 billion probably. So yeah, I think those three things.
Yeah, and I love the fact that they're going in a different direction with the castle, and this is going to be a very different Disney park. Which again, I like that. I like that risk taking. I don't want things to get stale at Disney. I don't want them to like. I hated. And I think it was 2005 when Hong Kong Disney was built, and they just recycled Disneyland's castle.
Yeah,
I thought super lazy.
Now look what's happened, right? They've redone that castle, they tied momentum into it, and now that park is beautiful. Like everyone that I know that goes, Hong Kong is my most want. I want to visit that park the most, even more than Tokyo. Everyone's like Tokyo. But like that park is so miserable because it's so popular. Meanwhile, you have this hidden gem of Hong Kong with incredible atmosphere. You have the Lantau Mountains in the back. You have Frozen. You have Momentous. You're getting an expansion of Marvel. Like, in my opinion, Hong Kong. Yeah, Mystic Manor. That too. It's like, I feel like everyone's always focused on the wrong things because social media tells them to focus on it rather than thinking for themselves. But
100%. Yeah, I would love to go to Hong Kong Disney. That'd be awesome.
I would go to Hong Kong tomorrow if I could.
Yeah, let's go. I think I got I have some PTO at work. I can make that happen, bro. Let's go. No, but great conversation.
I just got back from Florida. Why not? Hop a plane.
Yeah, exactly. But fantastic conversation, gentlemen. Drew, it's always an honor having you on, brother. We always love talking shop with you.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys having me on. I know I've said this many times before, but like, I've had some really good conversations with other creators and other people, and I'm very grateful that like people want to hear my thoughts because, like, again, I'm just me. Like, I don't view myself as like this influencer content creator and like I deserve to go on these things and talk to these people. Like, I'm just Drew. Like, if my Twitter account got deleted overnight, I'm nobody, right? This whole like perception of reality of like looking up to these content creators and like, I don't know what the right word is, but like idolizing them, I think is the right word. Like, I don't like that at all. I just want to be viewed as a 22-year-old kid who loves these parks, and I love sharing updates with people, because I have such a good pulse on everything. Like, because I'm able to follow everything so closely, I can put all of that into one account. And I think that that's unique, and that's why people like what I do. But you guys are my favorite two people to talk to because you guys are just real. Like, I feel like I'm literally talking to you guys in person and we're in different states, which I think is really cool. But that's like one of the good things about social media is I would have never met you guys. And you guys literally are giving me a platform to talk about my open thoughts. Like, otherwise, I'm not going to share these things. Because again, if I post this on Twitter and I post my open thoughts, someone's going to quote tweet it and someone's going to attack me, and it's going to turn into a whole scene that doesn't need to happen if it's just on YouTube, or it's an actual conversation. You know, Twitter isn't a conversation, it's an attack fest. This is a conversation.
Well, and it's also too, and also thank you so much.
Absolutely.
And I genuinely mean that. Like, I love talking to you guys. Like, I literally want to talk to you all for 2 hours. This isn't like a chore to me. Like, I get excited for this. So I enjoy this, truly.
And we enjoy having you on.
We
We really do, because we know that when we have you on, this isn't going to be like a fly-by-night 30-minute video. We know it's going to be
we're gonna deep dive, get nerdy with it. You know what I'm saying? I love it.
Yeah, so we enjoy having you on. We always want to, have you back on as many times as we can have you on. And but I do understand what you're saying too, because it's almost like even when you're sending someone a text, even though you know what you mean, but to the person that's receiving that text, when they just look at words, they can perceive it much differently. Whereas when you're visually, showing yourself, speaking verbally to the person, having an in-depth conversation, and then people can see that, they can see how genuine you are of what you're saying with your words.
Context matters 100%.
Yeah, I think that there's actual studies that have been done with this, with body language, and how much, like, I think it was done during the pandemic with how much was lost with the masks. Because like, you're not seeing someone's mouth move and like their whole facial expressions and body language. Like, there's no body language, there's no connection on social media. It's people hiding behind a keyboard and hiding their real identity, because it doesn't matter what they say. They don't care about how you're affecting someone else's life, right? But when we're talking here, we have the body language, we have the open connection, we have our mouse moving, we have the emotions, everything like you said, George. But yeah, I think the study they found was like 50% of the actual like human connection is lost when you're wearing a mask or when you're not talking to someone in person. So this is the closest that we can get. But I mean, I feel like I'm talking to you guys. So
100%. 100%. We love you, Drew. And thank you so much for coming on, brother, talking shop with us. We'll do it again very soon. And if you want to remind everybody where they can find you on social media.
Yeah, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube. I'll be on. I really need people to follow me on Facebook, because like I don't, like, no one knows that I'm on Facebook, but I probably should post that, right? But yeah, I'll be everywhere soon, just because like I need to expand what I'm doing. And like, I also think that, like, out of respect for people like Scott Gustin, who was in the scene first covering Disney news, I don't necessarily want to be viewed as like a Scott Gustin copycat, because Scott also has a phenomenal pulse on the scene, and he did it first, back in 2020. And I think that if I can prove to people that I'm my own individual, unique person by doing more, that I'll find even more of my own little lane and following too.
Well said. Well said. And Mr. Italiano, where can everybody find you on social media, sir?
Absolutely. You can find me on my YouTube channel, Citrico Central, covering everything in parks with Disney, with Universal, Knott's Berry Farm, all that good jazz. Also, you can find me on here on Orange Grove 55 with Citrus Corner, with all that sweet, juicy, but sometimes sticky Disney news and info. And you can also find me on Instagram on both the Disney Italiano and Citrico Central.
There he is, everybody. Comment down below with all your thoughts on everything we discussed today. Josh DeMauro in the lead for the CEO position, all the Disneyland Forward stuff, all the Florida stuff, Piston Peak, Muppets, all that good stuff. We want to hear from you down below. And
yeah, and like, I really want people down below to be honest with my thoughts too, because like that's the only way I can grow. Sometimes I'm going to be blind to other people's thoughts. So if I said something they don't agree with, drop it down below and just tell me why. I think that having an open mind is a very powerful thing. And if you don't have an open mind, quite frankly, you're an idiot in my mind.
100%.
And honestly, that's what we always say on here. We encourage people to tell us what they think, give us their thoughts, opinions, tell us like, if, they don't agree with us, which that's fine. They're wrong. But they can say
we got 2 comments from you on this one.
There we go. Thank you all so much for watching. And until the next time.
Thank you for watching OG55. If you aren't already, consider becoming a member today.